Warhammer x LOTM, The Black Emperor. By author Jiao Chao Mo. Tricon System, seeking 19th subscription. Just as Malina Scala was heading towards the Catachan system, in the Flame Wheel Star system, on the 4th planet, at Outpost 1. As Ning Lu was about to storm the outpost, a vision suddenly flashed through his mind, one that came from Monster John. It was an orc, several snots taller than a normal orc, his legs encased in hydraulic devices. He stood on a bizarre dacajet. There were no conventional weapons on the vehicle, but there was a strange launch rack connected to hydraulic devices. With a whoosh and a piercing shriek, he suddenly shot up, his feet kicking towards Ning Lu. The vision then disappeared, and Ning Lu, deep in thought, interpreted the scene premonitioned by Monster. A war boss who was skilled at or enjoyed stomping on enemies with his feet was launching a sneak attack on him. Ning Lu knew that war bosses usually found tech boys to make them weapons like lightning claws or huge armor. But there were always those orcs with unique ideas. As long as he felt it was WoG enough, he would go his own way. While contemplating, Ning Lu charged into the greenskin camp, attacking with his bolt gun mounted with a power fist, while vigilantly observing his surroundings. A piercing engine roar entered his ears, and a massive figure soared into the air. War boss Tyler, Legbreaker, bounced off his dacajet, kicking towards Ning Lu. Since he had spent most of his wealth having a tech boy custom build this roaring dacajet for him, he had broken the legs of opposing tribal bosses hundreds of times. The sound of bones breaking always made him hear the approving shouts of Gork and Mork. The powerful launch energy propelled Legbreaker to Ning Lu's front in a single breath. Legbreaker grinned, opening his mouth wide to reveal tusks as long as fingers. Oh, Gork and Mork. The phantom sound of bones cracking was already echoing in his mind. Legbreaker's phantom sound in his mind was shattered by cold reality. He watched in astonishment as the black-armored warrior suddenly swung his sword, a dazzling blue-white light flashing brilliantly. The crackling psionic energy shredded Legbreaker's legs, destroying the hydraulic transmission devices that encased them. Legbreaker suddenly understood how those bosses who had lost their legs felt. Legbreaker exerted force with his right arm, swinging a large chopper at Ning Lu. Ning Lu dodged the attack and plunged the Val's sword into the orc war boss's head. After killing the ultimate victor of hundreds of tribal brawls, the tech boys from different tribes immediately fell into chaos. After Ning Lu finished the ground combat, Arsena Dun came to his side and spoke. "My lord, the chief forgemaster has received news that the Crown of Grey is expected to arrive in 5 standard days." Ning Lu immediately returned to the Wangquan Shadow, leaving the cleanup work to the 4th and 11th battle groups, as well as Hannibal and his 2nd Legion. Hannibal and his legion, like hungry tigers pouncing on their prey, continuously attacked the greenskins. Ning Lu confidently entrusted more outposts to the 2nd Legion. He returned to the Wangquan Shadow to finalize the details of the upcoming negotiations with the original body servant and the chief forgemaster. Afterward, the chief forgemaster reported, "Father, the ape field control device has been successfully developed. I have studied the sacred construction template of the Fortress-class energy shield and have mastered the construction technology to cover an entire hive city." Ning Lu nodded slightly, speaking to Roziki Chek. "After the negotiations with Grey are concluded, you will set off to establish warp gates in 7-star systems and construct Fortress-class energy shields in each hive city." "As you wish." Subsequently, the silver-haired Arsena, holding a data slate, reported to the Gene Seed Primarch. "My lord, the shipyard on Tricon Main Star has surpassed the Vostronia shipyard in construction capability, capable of producing 1 standardized capital ship annually. Tricon 2, 3, IV, and V, these 4 planets, have established mining bases and foundries. They can produce weapons and equipment ranging from lasguns to armored vehicles." The original body servant examined the data slate in his hand, reporting in detail. Tricon Main Star has a total of 15 large foundries. Besides conventional casting, the most significant feature is the factories of the Terava tribe. Terava has established 10 large foundries on the main star and built mining bases and 23 small foundries on the other 4 planets. They have brought many technologies from the dark age of technology. Terava's artisans are willing to serve the 11th Legion with the skills they once used to craft equipment for the Custodes. Ning Lu nodded slightly. Very good. Have them send artisans to first produce the equipment needed by the royal court monks. Then proceed level by level according to the Legion's hierarchy. After the original body servant noted it down, he continued to speak. Trichon Main Star also has a large number of dinosaurs domesticated by the Savage Wilderness Spirit clan. They can be used as meat or trained as mounts. Upon hearing this, Ning Lu issued an order: establish ranches to raise dinosaurs. After Arsena noted it down, he continued to speak. Trichon II has a total of 11 large foundries and 20 small foundries. Because of the excellent quality of local iron ore and limestone, it is suitable for manufacturing plasteel. Therefore, the factories on Trichon II have a large number of refining plants, and are primarily focused on casting power armor and auxiliary army armor. Mark II Crusade pattern power armor uses armor plates mixed with ceramite and plasteel. Plasteel, a material developed during the Dark Age of technology, is an advanced synthetic material that possesses both plastic properties and the tensile strength of steel alloys. Plasteel is also the most widely used casting material in the current Imperium of Man. Trichon III has a total of 10 large foundries and 18 small foundries. On Trichon III, a psionic crystal mine cultivated by the Savage Wilderness Spirit clan has been discovered. The Legion's think tank and tech sergeants are currently conducting research. Combined with the Eldar technology currently mastered by the Legion, it is expected to at least improve the performance of Ranger pattern lasguns. Ning Lu nodded slightly, a sense of anticipation rising within him. The psionic crystals of Crystal Mirage differ somewhat from the psionic cultivation crystals used by the Eldar, which makes the research and development of Eldar technology even more difficult. Having encountered the Eldar twice, they had not been able to capture Bonezingers or Eldar following paths such as the Artisan Path, so the warriors' understanding of the weapons in their hands was, after all, limited. Trichon IV is highly volcanically active and is the world with the fewest foundries in the system, with only 5 large foundries and 11 small foundries. However, because of this, the factories built there can utilize thermal energy, greatly reducing the energy consumed during casting. Furthermore, across the surface of Trichon IV, there is a type of root nodule plant that grows near surface lava rivers and survives by utilizing dissipated heat. As the original body servant spoke, he operated the data slate to generate a holographic image. This plant is deeply rooted underground, and if pulled out abruptly, it emits a piercing scream. It has been named Mandrake by the apothecary, and it has the miraculous effect of suppressing warp psychic erosion, which can alleviate the ringing in the ears and headaches of void crewmen. It produces reproductive spore mist that spreads across the ground. Ning Lu nodded slightly. In his memory, there was a similar plant on a certain world with similar characteristics and effects, named Mandrake by the members who arrived there. Open black lens bracket. Indeed, the naming of organisms is not accidental. All are named Mandrake because they scream. If it is the Mandrake from my memory, the Navigator families once purchased it in large quantities, so it also has an effect on psychers. Close black lens bracket. After a moment's thought, Ning Lu concluded that this Mandrake should also be able to be refined into ritual essential oils, so he spoke. Send a portion of the Mandrake to the think tank and the apothecary, respectively, for them to research. After the original body servant recorded the Gene Seed Primarch's command, he continued his report. Trichon V currently has 8 large foundries and 12 small factories, with 1 large foundry and 3 small factories under construction. We also discovered a black crystalline material there that can be woven into luxurious fabrics. When worn in twilight or darkness, it emits a soft internal glow that can almost hypnotize observers. The Eldar of Trichon V use the crystalline material to weave silk-like fabrics, which have a strong exotic flair. Preliminary assessment suggests their effect and beauty will be favored by nobles and socialites. Ning Lu smiled and nodded, saying, "The Trichon system truly is full of treasures. The Eldar's modification technology is truly admirable. 5 standard days later, the Crown of Grey arrived in the Flame Wheel star system. Signing an alliance with Glia, please subscribe for Saturday. After Glia's crown arrived in the star system, Glia's chief Forgemaster Dagos 12 led a team to the Wenquan Shadow. Ning Lu, considering that the two sides would be long-term allies in the future, showed the chief Forgemaster sufficient respect. The Wenquan Shadow fired an 11-gun salute, the highest honor the 11th Legion could bestow upon a guest. Ning Lu himself, along with Chief Forgemaster Roziki Chek, personally greeted him on the tarmac. Ning Lu saw Dagos 12 descend the deck, only the upper part of his face showed human flesh and blood components. The lower half of his face was covered by a respirator, and there was a mechanical implant on his left forehead, plated with a layer of black chrome. The decoration on his forehead bore the upper half of Glia's emblem, the sacred cog and the rising sun. The sacred cog is a universal symbol of the Mechanicus, while the rising sun symbolizes the dawn of a new era, a symbol adopted solely by Glia. Dagos 12's mechanical tentacles swayed, one of them holding the Omniscia scepter. 4 sages followed behind him, and 12 tech priests carrying incense burners walked at the very end. They were branded with Glia's emblem, the lower half of which was Glia's abbreviation symbol. The sound array device on Dagos 12's chest sounded, emitting a mechanical synthetic voice. Gene Seed Primarch of the Order Shadows, King of Vostroniet, discoverer of the first Night World Daxos Twin Star System, Ning Lu, this unit chief Forgemaster of the Casting World Glia, Dagos 12 greets you. Welcome your arrival, Chief Forgemaster of Glia, Dagos-12. Dagos 12 looked at the Chief Forgemaster. Roziki Chek, it's a pleasure to see you. Welcome your arrival, Dagos-12. After the Gene Seed Primarch, Chief Forgemaster, and original body servant exchanged greetings with Glia's Chief Forgemaster, sages, and tech priests, everyone moved to the conference hall of the Primarch's palace and sat facing each other. Ning Lu looked at Dagos 12 opposite him and began. Chief Forgemaster, we have reached a preliminary cooperation intention regarding the Battle Moon, which is a good start. I hope we can finalize the transaction framework today, and the details thereafter will be finalized by my Chief Forgemaster and Glia. Dagos 12's mechanical tentacles swayed. Gene Seed Primarch Ning Lu's proposal is logical, efficient, this unit approves, agrees. Ning Lu motioned for the Chief Forgemaster to speak, and Roziki, holding a data slate, began. First, regarding the Battle Moon, it belongs to Glia. We will dispatch 5 tech sergeants to research the Battle Moon with your side. All research results from Glia must be shared with us. Dagos 12 remained silent for a second before speaking. This unit approves, intention already reached. The Chief Forgemaster continued. Secondly, Glia will provide supplies for the 11th Legion and its affiliated forces. Since Glia is located in the Storm Starfield, the core supply area will be this starfield. Supply scope includes, but is not limited to, ship manufacturing and repair, providing various Glia-type equipment, including Manticore missile launchers, Trojan repair vehicles, Saber laser destroyers, Vengeance grenade launchers, and all manufactured weapons and equipment such as bolt guns. Glia's most famous manufactured vehicle is the Manticore missile launcher, with a production volume second only to Wenquan No. 8 among many casting worlds. As for another well-known vehicle, the Glia-type Hellhound armored vehicle, the Imperium has not yet developed the Chimera armored personnel carrier, let alone this variant. The agreement includes all equipment Glia can cast, so it naturally includes future Glia-type Hellhound armored vehicles. Among them, Glia-type Manticore missile launchers and other equipment must begin supply from the date the agreement is reached. Your side will dispatch tech priests to assist the worlds belonging to the 11th Legion in mastering the manufacturing technology of Glia-type Manticore missile launchers and other equipment, to achieve mass production. Dagos 12 was silent for only 1 second again before speaking. This unit agrees Glia will provide supplies for the Order Shadows Legion. Third, Glia's crown must move to the war zone when necessary to provide supplies. As soon as the Chief Forgemaster finished speaking, Dagos 12 immediately said. Glia's crown's fusion engine allows it to traverse the warp, consumes enormous energy. Traversing the warp is dangerous, cannot be moved at will. Ning Lu, who had been letting the Chief Forgemaster speak for him, now explained. Chief Forgemaster, I will not summon Glia's crown at will. I will only issue a summons to Glia's crown when supplies cannot be obtained from areas adjacent to the war zone. Specific details will be discussed between the Chief Forgemaster and you. After 15 seconds of silence from Dago's 12, the sound array synthetic voice finally sounded. I agree, details need to be discussed. The Chief Forgemaster continued. The last item, the armed forces Glia provides to us. We hope that half the number of Titans from the Morning Star Titan Legion can accompany the Order Shadows in combat. When needed, the entire Legion must be dispatched. Dago's 12 was silent for 5 seconds before speaking. Glia has a planet, Glia's crown, 2 strategic points that need to be guarded. The Morning Star Titan Legion will provide 1/3 of its Titans. Glia's ecclesiarchy forces never retreat, they will accompany the 11th Legion's actions. Rosicky frowned slightly, looking at Ning Lu. Ning Lu lightly tapped the table with his fingers, contemplating. Open black lens bracket. It is necessary for Glia to retain essential armed forces. I remember that when Glia's crown traverses the warp, it encounters the gluttonous alien Danonia and is on the verge of destruction, and later also suffers attacks from space Necrons and Chaos. Moreover, the unwavering will of Glia's ecclesiarchy forces is legendary. As long as they believe their data predictions are correct, these cold and rational warriors will execute their missions at all costs. Their brains are hardwired into pure logical computation, and even enemy psychers are ineffective against these warriors, unable to penetrate that wall of absolute rationality. Close black lens bracket. Ning Lu then thought. Open black lens bracket. Also, there are several casting worlds I know of but have not yet been discovered by the Imperium. I can divine their locations and form alliances. Close black lens bracket. Thinking this, he spoke. I agree, and welcome the Morning Star Titan Legion and Glia's ecclesiarchy forces to fight alongside the Order Shadows. The Chief Forgemaster will represent me in discussing the alliance details with Glia. Arsena also joined the negotiation team to assist the Chief Forgemaster. After 11 days of talks, the Chief Forgemaster and Glia finalized the treaty details. On the day of the signing, the lords of the 6th, 10th, and 12th battle groups, who had just arrived at Flame Wheel, the think tank curator, and 6 lords including Adams and Thierry Vieira, all attended the ceremony. Facing them were Glia's 4 sages. The Chief Forgemaster declared loudly. The Order Shadows and the casting world Glia become allies from today, never to abandon each other. The Chief Forgemaster then recited it again in binary language. Ning Lu and Dago's 12 walked to the long table. Ning Lu signed his name in the lower right corner of the parchment scroll, which was 5.2 meters in diameter when rolled up. The Chief Forgemaster picked up the quill with a mechanical tentacle and signed his name. Subsequently, both also left their electronic signatures on a data slate. After the signing, Ning Lu, curious about Glia's crown, made a request to Dago's -12. I would like to visit Glia's crown. From Dago's 12's chest, the sound array synthetic voice sounded. Welcome Eugene Seed Primarch to visit. Ning Lu, Rosicky, and Arsena boarded a Stormbird and flew to Glia's crown. Glia's crown sparkled like a gem in the sky of Flame Wheel, connected by carbon fiber highways into a spiderweb. It was a network interwoven with nuclear cities and giant superconducting pipelines, like a colossal beast. Glia's ecclesiarchy forces patrolled the various passages, and servitors continuously transported supplies. After Ning Lu and the others disembarked, they followed Dago's 12 to the observation window. The Chief Forgemaster impatiently issued commands in binary language, and Glia's crown's Crozine offset thrusters locked onto the Battle Moon's stationary orbit. It climbed onto the Battle Moon like an attached mechanical tick. Glia's crown's production subroutines activated, and hundreds of newly produced armed servitors poured out of the production lines every minute. They boarded the Battle Moon with the ecclesiarchy forces to establish defensive strongholds. The fleet landed on the surface of the battle moon, and sages and tech priests disembarked. Among them, 5 Savon, in black armor also disembarked with the team. After observing Glia's crown's landing ceremony on the battle moon, Ning Lu immediately returned to the Wenquan Shadow. By the end of 821, the 11th Legion had purified planets 4 and 8. At the same time, the Space Wolves Legion also purified planets 3 and 6. By then, the 11th Legion had purified a total of 4 planets, and the 6th Legion had purified 3 planets. In 822, M30, the 11th, 2nd, and 6th Legions launched an offensive against Flamewheel's main planet. Firewheel Final Battle, Morning Star Titan Legion, seeking Saturday subscription. On the bridge of the Wenquan Shadow, Ning Lu surveyed the information torrent on the video screen. The Augur Matrix scan results showed that the Firewheel's main star had 2 large continents. The southern continent was smaller, surrounded by ocean, while the northern continent was about 5 times its size. The communication bead in Arsena Dun's ear beeped. He pressed the bead, listened to the report, and frowned slightly. The original body servant raised his control staff, illuminated the holographic image, and reported to the Geneseed Primarch. My lord, we received a communication from Leman Russ, and he has decided to land on the western side of the northern continent. He didn't wait for your reply and has already ordered the fleet to begin orbital bombardment to create conditions for the landing. Ning Lu nodded slightly, not surprised by this. The Space Wolves didn't like to wait. He turned his head to look at Hannibal beside him and Suarez and Erlang behind him. He acutely sensed that their abdomens had grown a circle larger. Although an ordinary person would not be able to detect this change no matter how they observed, a brief recollection and comparison to a year ago allowed him to clearly distinguish it. Hannibal, the 2nd Legion will be responsible for clearing the southern continent, how about it? If it were Leman Russ, or another competitive Geneseed Primarch, they would be furious that Ning Lu had given their legion the smallest combat zone. But Hannibal smiled, saying elegantly and with a hint of delight, no problem. Hannibal, accompanied by Suarez and Erlang, hurried away, returning to his warship to begin their hunting journey. Ning Lu then looked at the commander of the Morning Star Titan Legion, and asked, Alex, how many titans does your legion have? Alex's red uniform coat was adorned with dark green rivets, and the gray emblem was branded on his epaulettes, signifying his status as a high-ranking commander. He bowed slightly, his right hand on his chest. My lord Ning Lu, the Morning Star currently has 104 titans. Ning Lu's eyes flashed. The number of titans Alex mentioned was significantly less than the 156 titans that the Morning Star Titan Legion had at its peak in his memory. He knew that most Titan legions only had dozens of titans, and only first-tier Titan legions like the Morning Star Titan Legion would have more than 100 titans. Among the Titan legions Ning Lu knew, the Fire Lord Legion of Forgeworld Yellow Springs 8 had over 300, which caused panic in the Mechanicus. Under Horus's supervision, the Fire Lord Legion was eventually split into Dark Fire and King of Destruction. Before the Horus Heresy, the Death Skull had approximately 200. The Morning Star Titan Legion also reached 156 titans before the grand birthday celebration. He looked at the chief forgemaster, who nodded slightly, acknowledging the number. Ning Lu then recalled the information about Gray in his memory. After the Mechanicus colonists established the casting world, through centuries of effort, their sphere of influence had expanded to over 20 star systems during the Age of Strife. Gray relied on the resources of these star systems to develop a powerful Titan Legion and establish a strong orbital defense system. The Imperial representatives' concern about a protracted war did not materialize, so Gray was rewarded with the right to conquer nearby casting worlds. However, Gray had only recently received authorization and had not yet established the Iron Belt from memory, nor had it conquered the dozens of smaller casting worlds in the adjacent areas. Of course, Gray had also not yet encountered the infamous Ripper Titan Legion. With one increase and one decrease, the number of 104 should be approximately correct. While Ning Lu was deep in thought, Alex continued, according to the Alliance Agreement, there are a total of 35 Titans operating in conjunction with the 11th Legion. This includes 17 Warlord-class Titans, and 9 Battle Titans and 9 Scout Titans respectively. Ning Lu nodded with satisfaction. The Great People had not deliberately dispatched a large number of Scout Titans, simply meeting the numerical requirement. The 3 types of Titans were the same as the standard composition of the Morning Star Titan Legion, in his memory. Strictly speaking, the Morning Star Titan Legion did not even deploy 1/3 of its combat power. I remember that this ancient casting world had at least 3 Emperor-class sovereign types. However, ordinary battles would not deploy sovereign types. Overall, Grey can be considered to have fulfilled the alliance, making them a reliable ally. Thinking of this, Ning Lu said to Alex, I am satisfied with this. He then turned his gaze to the holographic image and tapped his finger lightly. There are a total of 12 fortresses on the eastern side of the northern continent. The fortress marked T has the strongest defensive firepower. The 8th battle group in Grey will jointly attack this fortress. Alex did not answer immediately. He looked at the video screen. With the meticulous attitude of the Grey People, he evaluated the defensive strength of the fortress. Alex's brain implant quickly assessed the fortress area and the number of cannons. 18 seconds later, he said confidently, My Lord Ning Lu, the God Machine and the Cult Mechanicus are sufficient to capture this fortress. Seeing Alex's confident tone, Ning Lu thought to himself, typical Grey People, observing carefully, firmly believing in their evaluation results, and they will not change even if the battle situation changes. They would rather die generously than retreat. Ning Lu smiled, Alex, I trust your assessment. But Fireheel is just the beginning of our joint operations. Larger battles in the future will require tacit cooperation. My Lord Ning Lu, I understand, Alex replied. I will fight alongside the Night Lord to purify the Xenos fortress. Considering that the sequence 6 inches Dawn Knight, and sequence 3 inches Silver Knight, of the Twilight Giant pathway were both named after knights, Ning Lu named Thierry Vieira the Night Lord. Ning Lu then issued orders to the other 9 battle groups. Except for the 3rd and 7th battle groups, the remaining 10 battle groups would deploy different forces to participate in the final battle of Fireheel. While Ning Lu was issuing orders, Alex used his brain implant to organize intelligence. On the way to the hangar, he sent the combat deployment to the Coj, ordering his captains to prepare for battle. After returning to the Coj, Alex immediately went to the hangar. He saw the Titan crew members, ground crew, and deck laborers busily working. Heavy cranes rumbled, descending from the deck dome, lifting giant shells and slender missiles, and delivering them to the loading and unloading areas of the weapon racks. Transport vehicles loaded with Vulcan bolters sped past, and artillery operators were orderly adjusting their weapons. Alex habitually straightened his collar, tightened the brass buttons of his coat, and walked to the wide foot of the Legos. He nodded slightly to the saluting crew members and walked towards the armored leg. Alex ascended the steps and entered the archway leading into the Titan, traversing the winding corridor with a low ceiling. His movements were swift, he had long since memorized every bolt and rivet of the Legos. Alex could find every hatch and every passage with his eyes closed. He walked to the heavy iron door at the end of the narrow passage, where 2 gray soldiers stood guard, clad in red breastplates and green chainmail shirts. They each wore skull masks in the style of the gray emblem, with shock pistols at their waists and shock sticks in their hands. Alex nodded to the agile soldiers, Captain, from the lower level to the middle level. He then pressed his palm against the panel. After the red light scanned his fingerprints, the green indicator light above the iron door illuminated. The nearby soldier turned the wheel, and the iron door opened. He ascended the iron mesh stairs all the way up to the cockpit, where he inserted his authentication card into the reader. With the sound of a bell, Alex entered the cockpit. He stood in the center of the ornate domed chamber and spoke, Command Bridge, Captain Alex. The floor beneath his feet rippled like water, forming a perfect metal disc, slowly lifting him to the command deck. Alex walked to the central command chair, sat down, and said, Technicians, connect me to the system. Two red-robed Mechanicus technicians appeared on either side, placing precise signal-conducting gloves on him. Sensors adhered closely to his skin, reading his vital signs. Then, a brainwave sensing device was placed on his head, preparing to activate cortical tendrils. Alex's neck restraint extended from within the headrest, and fine metal filaments emerged from the restraint. Silver tendrils passed through the corners of his eyes, climbed along the optic nerves, penetrated his skull, and finally connected to his cerebral cortex. The cortical tendrils filtered and diverted the incoming information stream. Telemetry data, weapon status, fuel levels, and other data surged through his mind. Feeling the immense power contained within him, Ning Lu's towering figure flashed through his mind, and he murmured, "It feels good to be a king." Alex then issued the order, "Prepare for aerial deployment." While the Morning Star Titan Legion was preparing intensely, the warships of the three legions conducted orbital bombardment on the Firewheel's main star. Lances and shells rained down on the green-skinned world below. After the orbital bombardment ended, the three Gene Seed Primarchs simultaneously set foot on the surface of the Firewheel's main star. The Space Wolves landed in the western part of the northern continent. Leman Russ was the first to rush out of the Stormbird, accompanied by his wolf brothers Freki and Jerry. Behind him, on either side, followed Rannik Rashevan and Joran. Flames spewed from the Wolf King's azure eyes as he charged forward, leaving his sons farther and farther behind. Joran swung his power axe, leaving Sanchez, and vented his anger at losing a challenging opponent on the orcs. Rannik Rashevan, even more so, had to rely on the screeching of the Chainix tearing through the greenskins to quell his anger and shame. The Koj dropped Titan drop pods resembling short, thick pipes. The high-temperature resistant devices operated at full speed, buffering the high temperatures of friction. Deceleration thrusters resisted the planet's gravity. Inertial dampening fields protected the Titans inside, while the bolts on the internal braking frames vibrated violently from the impact. The hatches opened, and Titan mechs with yellow-green paint schemes emerged in groups. The blue-green glow emanating from the instrument panels and screens in the luxurious cockpits illuminated the Titans. The Warlord-class Titan's control system lit up in Alex's eyes, as if it were a part of his body. The Titan's control system appeared in his mind. He clearly knew that the plasma reactor was on standby, its immense energy ready to be awakened at any moment. Braking system normal. Weapons on standby, ammunition loaded. Alex watched the surging green tide. The Warlord-class Titan's heavy auger array allowed him to pinpoint the charging green skins. Chapter 232, Firewheel Final Battle. The Shiny War Boss. Please subscribe for tomorrow. Alex gave a concise command. Pilot, open fire. The two Gatling burst cannons roared and spun, spewing out streams of massive shells. A curtain of death swept towards the orcs. In an instant, hundreds of orcs were torn to shreds. The Warlord Titan's two echo-locators detected ground tremors and motor noise. The radar scanner then marked all orc dakas on the tactical map. Destroy them. Alex gave the order, and the 4 Apocalypse missile launchers on his shoulders activated simultaneously. Missiles dragged dazzling light trails as they flew towards their locked heat signatures. Boom, boom, boom. One orc daka after another was blown away by the explosions, tumbling and crashing to the ground. Other Titans descended from the deck and joined the firepower assault. A storm of death and a vortex of flame swept through the green skin tide, incinerating the green skins in towering pillars of fire. The Warlord Titans advanced with synchronized steps, each stride a precise 20 meters. Thierry Vieira stepped out of the drop pod, feeling the scorching air rush back. He saw the Titans pushing forward with unstoppable momentum. Hunters of the Ecclesiarchy, wearing black helmets, black armor, and red robes, marched in an orderly fashion between the Titan formations. They raised their arc rifles and fired blue-white beams of light at the orcs. Flashes of lightning tore through the sky, accompanied by booming explosions. Orcs struck by the arc blasts were violently thrown back, collapsing helplessly as their hearts were shocked. The Morning Star Titan Legion and the Ecclesiarchy worked in close coordination, striking the orcs with precision and efficiency. Thierry turned to 2nd Company Commander Bukau and 3rd Company Commander Yerger beside him, exclaiming, efficient, coordinated, precise. The Gene Father truly has unique insight, choosing to ally with Grey. 1st Company Captain Robin stood to one side, watching the three conversing cheerfully. Lord, he pronounced the word heavily in Vostonian, then added, we are here to fight. We can't just watch our allies battle it out, can we? Robin expressed his dissatisfaction, yet managed to do so without offending the commander's authority. Although he was displeased that he hadn't become a lord like his former comrades, he knew that even Cessic, the strongest among the Reaper, had lost to Thierry, and he himself was no match. Open black lens bracket endure, wait for a chance to prove myself. Father also said to find the right moment, close black lens bracket. Thierry glanced at Robin, his dark eyes profound. Are you in a hurry? Yes, Lord. You wouldn't want the war boss to be killed by an allied titan, would you? Exactly, the Night Lord said with a smile, attack. The Order Shadows of the 8th Battle Group, with an orange-red longsword painted on their right shoulder, charged towards the green skins with synchronized steps. After the Night Lord led the 8th Battle Group to the outside of the Orc Fortress, he found that 35 Titans had already launched attacks from 4 directions. A Mars Alpha pattern Warlord Titan, its left arm's hammerhead bolter cannon spinning at high speed, aimed at a section of the green-skinned fortress and launched a continuous barrage. Bolter shells continuously slammed into the fortress wall, creating an incessant, deafening roar. The Orc fortress wall shook continuously, and rubble flew everywhere. Thierry keenly noticed cracks appearing on that wall, like a spiderweb. Follow me. The Night Lord led his guard, charging towards the cracks in the wall. 30 meters from the wall, the spiderweb-like cracks in the wall grew larger and larger. With a loud bang, the fissures in the Orc fortress wall collapsed. Thierry led the charge, his orange-furred brain cat following closely beside him. Thierry swung his power sword, and the blue-charged blade cut out. 3 charging orcs had their throats simultaneously slit, and the disintegration field shredded the orcs' heads. Robin saw Thierry rush into the city and immediately gave the order. Follow me. He led the 1st Company, following behind the guard, and charged into the city. As Thierry entered the city, he was immediately subjected to a tide-like attack from orcs whose armor and weapons were painted with vibrant patterns. The Night Lord shouted, Night Lance. The guard members immediately formed a combat formation with the Night Lord as the spearhead. The warrior, with agility beyond that of the Order Shadows, carved into the orc tide. They used the weapons in their hands, employing the way of Osber Vaya, to attack the orcs. Thierry was the foremost individual in the 11th Legion, second only to the Genseed Primarch. The 8th Battle Group was the most skilled in Osber Vaya, within the Legion, and the warrior were the elite among the battle group. The warrior extraordinary strength suppressed the orcs, and their skill was far beyond that of the Black Moon Boys, who adorned themselves with gold. Other orc clans had no interest in flashy decorations like gold, but the Black Moon Boys loved to trade their teeth for these shiny things. After Robin rushed into the fortress, he saw Thierry leading his guard, unstoppable. In his mind, he immediately recalled the scene of Thierry defeating Cessic in the gladiatorial arena. The first Titan to charge into the city was the Lagos, and Alex, after instructing the Titans to systematically eliminate the defensive artillery, rushed into the fortress. Alex quickly grasped the battle situation within the fortress through the battlefield images captured by his electromagnetic detector. He was astonished to find that the Night Lord, leading his guard, was slaughtering the green skins at an astonishing speed. Their advance rate was not much slower than that of the god machines. As Alex marveled, the spectroscopic sensor provided a clear image on the manifold interface. An orc, at least 5 Gretchen taller than all the others, had a shiny war boss banner on his back, glittering dazzlingly under the stellar light. His ornate super armor was thicker than any other orc's, making him look as if he were encased in a shorter night mech. Wog! The war boss roared, charging at Thierry, and raised his choppa, bringing it down. The big choppa in his hand looked completely different from the crude choppas in other orcs' hands. It was an ornate greatsword shining with golden light. Thierry, using Osber via Article 6, swung his power sword, forcibly twisted his arm, and raised the blade to parry the big choppa. Thierry's feet were pressed into the ground, his body taut, and he was pushed backward. Thierry, instead of retreating, advanced, launching continuous slashes using Osber via. The pugilist's movements were swifter than the war boss's, and the charged blade left sword marks on the armor. The ornate armor quickly became battered, which infuriated the war boss. Gork and Mork. Green mist billowed in the war boss's mind as he roared loudly. Wog. Thierry felt a tremendous force from the weapon in his hand. He was almost thrown flying. Robin's eyes narrowed. He saw the weak points in the war boss's damaged armor. Open black lens bracket. If I can kill the war boss, I will gain higher prestige than Thierry in the Battle of the Flame Wheel. This is a good start. I will win victory after victory, proving to Father that I am a worthy lord. Close black lens bracket. Thinking this, Robin swiftly charged towards the war boss. Wog. The war boss roared. He fiercely swung his big choppa, preparing to strike the black armored shrimp who had damaged his armor. Suddenly, another shrimp appeared, grinning ferociously as he swung his big choppa. Robin couldn't dodge in time and was split in half by the ornate big choppa. Thierry, who had scrambled back to his feet, had resolute eyes. Open black lens bracket. I must kill the war boss. Close black lens bracket. His eyes were deep, his black pupils expanding to engulf his eyeballs. Thierry met the war boss, using Osber via Article 23, employing the art of overcoming the strong with the weak, and delivered a sword strike. The charged blade pierced into the war boss's neck armor, impaling the war boss's head. Thierry whispered, "I have awakened, subspace insight." He glanced at the body split in half and shook his head. Robin is dead. Chapter 233, Firewheel Final Battle, The Extravagant Evil Sons Orc Warlord. Please subscribe. 2 months after the battle for the Firewheel primary planet began, the second battle group, after clearing the fortress marked B, immediately launched an attack on the orc fortress marked C without rest. The Knights of the Vixtrix family cooperated with the second battle group in the battle. After the Vixtrix Knights breached the orc fortress, James wore his sturdy Mark I Thunder pattern power armor. This type of armor is becoming increasingly rare in the Legion, its black color coming more from polishing than from paint. The regimental and battle litanies covering it, most of which are no longer officially recognized by the Order Shadows. A wolf-shaped emblem, etched in platinum on the cheek guards of his towering helmet, commemorates his days serving under Lord Horus as a Reaper. Despite James's promotion to Lord, he remained only a knight in the Black Duke court. He yearned for more trust from his Gene father, and he saw the Flame Wheel as his best opportunity. The second battle group was conscripted from the very beginning and suffered the most casualties in both Void battles and the assault on Battle Moon. But James felt it wasn't enough. He desired greater trust. Killing the orc warlord and presenting him to his father was the best way he could think of to prove himself. None of the other battlefronts had encountered an orc warlord, and James had a faint premonition that he was in this fortress. The moment the Vixtrix family knights breached the city walls, he impatiently gave the order. Charge! Wilshire's highly infectious voice rang out. Our honor is determined by slaying evil. I am Wilshire of the Order Shadows. In this battle, we will carve our legend onto the body of every Xenos we kill. Will you stand with me? He was promoted to deputy officer 4 months ago due to his excellent performance. Because the 4th Company captain died in the war against the Orcs, he was promoted to captain 1 month ago. Aside from the core members from Vostronia and Sea Cradle who followed him before the Gene Seed Primarch's return, Wilshire is the fastest and youngest person in the history of the 11th Legion to become a captain, deputy officer, and company captain through the normal Order Shadows training system. All the royal court members of the second battle group knew that the Gene Father's evaluation of him surpassed most company captains, and even some lords. The only one who could barely keep up with him was Percassielny of the 11th battle group, but he was only promoted to company deputy officer 5 days ago. The bard would also, during the battle group's rest periods, selflessly share the teachings he received from the Gene Father when he was an honor guard member with every battle group member, not just the warriors under his command. Telemaria Mind Realm, War Mask, Subspace Insight. This gave him far greater prestige in the second battle group than 1st Company Captain Emmerich, making him effectively the battle group's second in command. The Bard beliefs not only infected the 4th Company but also many warriors from other companies, who instinctively let out a roar. The Bard held his head high, his song echoing through the loudspeakers, bringing the power of the Order shadows to the 921 members of his company. The warriors of the 4th Company, as if bathed in sunlight, followed their company captain and charged onto the city wall. Wilshire's song grew more and more fervent as he swung the power hammer in his hand. He smashed the maul onto the head of a green skin, feeling the charge and release with each kill. With every impact, there was a momentary, low roar from the power field, an energy pulse colliding with other matter. The strength of the green skins could not resist the power the bard gained from his song. He unleashed his power in a sudden burst of kinetic energy, destroying the blasphemous Xenos. Wilshire led his company, charging towards the smoke-spewing green skin artillery on the city wall. Every swing of his hammer killed an orc boy or several Gretchen. Wilshire was unstoppable, charging to an orc artillery piece. He smashed his hammer onto the tech boy's head, turning it into a pulp. He swung another hammer, smashing it onto the artillery, and the disintegration field turned the orc artillery into a pile of broken parts. After the 4th Company continuously destroyed 7 orc artillery pieces, the firepower of the entire city wall immediately created a gap, and the 3rd and 5th Companies seized the opportunity to attack the city wall. Wilshire's gaze turned towards the city, looking at the Lord's battlefield. He immediately saw the battle group's 52 dreadnoughts standing with 3 times their number of equally tall steel monsters. The harsh noise emitted by the steel monsters was exceptionally piercing even amidst the roar of artillery. Their long-barreled big shooters spewed a dense barrage at the battle group's dreadnought mechs, causing sparks to fly from the black armor. They swung their crab claw-like power claws, attempting to seize the larger, more agile, and more heavily armored dreadnought mechs, then saw through the black armor with screeching chainswords. Wilshire keenly noticed that they all had the Death Skull clan's insignia on their backs, not the Evil Sun's mark of the surrounding green skins. Wilshire immediately recalled what the Gene Father had said before the battle. The Death Skull clan's big tech boss on Second Planet, his mechs are much smaller than they should be. The only force with the influence and financial resources to buy those mechs could only be the Orc warlord of the Flame Wheel. He then identified them as Orc Death Dreadnoughts from the data provided by the Gene Father. Death Dreadnoughts are surprisingly similar to our Dreadnought mechs. The pilot must be permanently connected to the mech through bionics. Every chosen green skin will have their spine and brain filled with tubes, neural probes, cranial ports, and other strange machinery through surgery. This high-tech product requires the cooperation of tech boys and mad docs to complete. And unlike killing cans, their pilots are orcs. They are usually not as strong in combat as our dreadnought mechs, but they are much stronger than killing cans. Moreover, each death dreadnought costs a high price of 100 big teeth to buy, which is enough for an ordinary green skin to drink 100 big cups of fungus beer. Wilshire intuitively felt the extravagance of the Orc warlord. A single death dreadnought was worth 15,000 big teeth. The extravagantly built death dreadnoughts were worth it. They surrounded the second battle group's dreadnought mechs with numerical superiority. Less than an hour into the engagement, 8 dreadnoughts had been lost, though they had made the orcs pay more than 4 times that price. Wilshire leapt off the city wall, thinking to himself, the Orc warlord must be killed as soon as possible, so that those angry ones bound within the mechs will lose their restraint and fight independently. James had the same idea as Wilshire. He had already locked onto the war boss banner fluttering among the death dreadnoughts. James knew from the data provided by the Gene Father that every sufficiently mighty, large, and noisy war boss would have his own war boss banner. The size of the War Boss banner and the trophies used as decoration on it most directly reflect the strength and status of its owner. The War Boss banner James saw was covered with dozens of ornaments, including tusks and skulls. James led his honor guard, breaking into the melee of dreadnought mechs, charging in the direction of the War Boss banner. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. And please support the author by link in description. Chapter 234, Fireheel Final Battle, The Orc Warlord's Gargantuan. Please subscribe. The Orc Warlord Soraya Nuo's personal gargantuan, the Flame Number, was painted in the Black Moon Boys' preferred golden black. Atop the massive banner behind him, a grinning moon on a fiery background served as a totem, strung with 3 newly acquired trophies, the heads of 3 Order Shadows. His black and yellow flame-patterned orc super heavy armor and weapons were adorned with various gaudy patterns, including the Black Moon Boys' symbol and a black hand. The Flame Number also bore more glittering adornments than other orcs. The Flame Number stood 5 meters tall, and with the towering banner behind him, he exceeded 10 meters. James, therefore, firmly locked onto the Orc Warlord's position. He led his personal guard, charging towards the fluttering banner. The roaring Death Dreadnought raised his iron foot high, kicking down an Order Shadows, then stomped on the Order Shadows' body in his preferred crushing manner. His 2 hooked claws pierced through the power armor. The personal guard members sensed the death of their battle brother, but they had no time for grief, nor time to kill the Death Dreadnought. They raised their bolt gun, firing a volley of bolts at the Death Dreadnought. The barrage fired by the personal guard members accurately struck the Death Dreadnought. The Ironkin was hit, limbs scattering, and he stumbled backward, before being smashed by an enraged Dreadnought with a power fist. One by one, the personal guard members fell, finally drawing near the Orc Warlord. The personal guard members raised their bolt gun, attacking the Flame Number. Adamantium warheads slammed against the Flame Number's hull, then ricocheted away. Soraya Nuo twisted his body, fixing his gaze upon them, and let out a ferocious roar. Wog! Among the surrounding Death Dreadnoughts, the insane greenskins simultaneously felt a green mist rising in their minds. They roared in unison, Wog! The green mist in Soraya Nuo's mind grew thicker, and he heard the roars of Gork and Mork in his ears. He raised his right arm, attacking the black armored shrimps with his personal heavy long-range ion gun. Glowing, extremely hot energy shot out, accurately hitting a personal guard member to James's left rear. The resulting material reaction produced a boiling nuclear energy sphere, just like the boiling sun of the flame wheel. The explosive energy engulfed the personal guard member, his black armor melting rapidly, and the Order Shadows, in the burning energy stream, furiously fired the last bolt of his life at the Flame Number. Every plasma beam fired by Soraya Nuo took away a personal guard member. Unlike the casual marksmanship of most orcs, his shooting was superb. Every attack could hit the fast-moving personal guard members. By the time James rushed before the Orc Warlord, he had already lost 13 personal guard members. James held his shield high in his left hand, blocking the descending mechanical claw. The moment of impact, James felt a massive force, and he was knocked back a step. James was shocked by the Orc Warlord's immense strength, but he had anticipated such an unfavorable situation. His target was an existence standing at the pinnacle of billions of green skins. Following the 23rd principle of the Osber Via way, he swung his thunder hammer with full force, delivering a charged blow, smashing into the only weakness he had identified. Based on the weapons mounted on the Flame Number, James predicted that he would expose his rib cage opening due to the collision. Unlike other power weapons that emit a constant energy field, the Thunder Hammer delivers a devastating blow only at the moment of impact. The Thunder Hammer struck the Flame Number's left rib, and the blue disintegration field exploded with thunderous cracks. Blue sparks shrieked, smashing a hole the size of a human fist, and the Flame Number staggered. Soraya Nuo felt a pang of heartache as his personal gargantuan Flame Number, which he had spent 30,000 Black Moon Boys' teeth to build, was damaged. He angrily opened his mouth, revealing 11 tusks, and let out an earth-shattering roar. His roar drowned out the noisy circular saws of the death dreadnoughts and the shriek of the bolters. Wog! The massive mechanical claw heavily struck the shield, exploding with a bang, and the shield was shattered. James's gaze was resolute. In an instant, he entered a warrior's state. His brain remained calm, yet he transformed the personal guard member's anger into strength. James had grasped the war mask state he had previously been unable to enter. He swung his thunder hammer with both arms, heavily smashing it into the flame number's bloated abdomen. The shimmering disintegration field shrieked, smashing through the black and yellow flame-patterned gargantuan, and the crackling energy field tore away a section of Soraya Nuo's abdomen. Soraya Nuo could no longer remember when he was last injured. He was both shocked and enraged, and his mechanical claw hammered down with full force. The mechanical claw tore through the Mark I Thunder pattern power armor, splitting James in half. Soraya Nuo raised his arm, attacking the other black armored shrimps. He felt a burning pain in his abdomen and the emptiness of losing his armor. This made the orc warlord very uncomfortable. He used his mechanical claw to pick up the largest piece of black armor debris on the ground and covered his abdomen with it. Soraya Nuo still felt the wind seeping through the gaps. Open black lens bracket not big enough, close black lens bracket. Soraya Nuo cast his gaze towards the shrimps. Big guys, he strode towards the nearest dreadnought. The veteran entombed in a metal tomb witnessed the death of his battle brother fighting alongside him, and rage filled his shattered body. The dreadnought turned, its storm bolt gun spinning rapidly, and shrieking bolts struck the black and yellow flame-patterned orc super heavy armor. More than 10 bolts shrieked as they hit Soraya Nuo's exposed abdomen, and an adamantium warhead drilled into the wound torn by the thunder hammer. The explosion destroyed a large chunk of green flesh. This injury was enough to kill an ordinary green-skinned boy. But it could not kill a powerful orc warlord. Soraya Nuo let out a furious roar. The flame number rushed before the dreadnought, its mechanical claw tearing off the dreadnought's arm, and the roaring iron-clad chainfist dropped to the ground, its inertia crackling as it sought a crack. The flame number's mechanical claw tore open the dreadnought, completely killing the veteran. After several tears and hammers from the mechanical claw, a steel plate was roughly kneaded out. Soraya Nuo frowned, using his mechanical claw to grab the steel plate and cover his exposed abdomen. He tapped it twice more, barely piecing together a complete gargantuan. Although the abdomen was still black, it lacked Soraya Nuo's favorite decorations, looking dilapidated. The enraged orc warlord let out a furious roar. Wog! Among the death dreadnoughts, the orcs' red eyes were filled with thick green mist. They furiously attacked the surrounding black armored shrimps. The Order shadows of the Second Legion were enraged by the death of their lord and their heavy losses. They adhered to the Legion culture reshaped by the Gene Father, not losing control due to anger and sorrow, but they inevitably became disorganized due to the losses. Just then, a clear song rang out. The song of Bard Wilshire reached the ears of every warrior, and the Order shadows of the second battle group immediately found their direction. Wilshire led the 4th Company, advancing towards the Orc warlord. The Death Dreadnoughts blocked their path, engaging in fierce combat with the 4th Company. Soraya Nuo also became less aggressive than before. Today, he had lost over 10,000 teeth worth of wealth. Although the second battle group converged around the Bard, they still could not achieve a breakthrough in a short time. Just as the battle was in a stalemate, a black lightning bolt swiftly rushed into the battlefield. Ning Lu charged into the Death Dreadnoughts, accompanied by the Black Wolf Freddy and the ginger-furred brain cat John. Chapter 235, Killing the Orc Warlord, Seeking Subscription. As Ning Lu rushed into the Death Dreadnought, he sent a thought pulse to the 8-legged Black Wolf, along with the Orc super heavy armor with black and yellow flames and the War Boss banner behind him. Pull the orcs inside the ancient beast into the dream. Freddy immediately began using his extraordinary ability. Previously, his little brother John had made significant contributions when killing the War Boss on the 4th planet, and now it was finally his turn. Freddy's eyes deepened, and the area within a 1 kilometer radius instantly plunged into darkness as the sound of singing poetry arose. The song of peace gently ripples. Comma, comma, comma. Humming a soothing lullaby. Comma, comma. Fearing to break the sleeping chrysalis in the swaddling clothes. In the deep folds of eternal night. All things are silent. The surrounding orcs, even the enraged orcs inside the dreadnought mechs, felt their eyelids grow heavy. The Order shadows, however, were unaffected. As a Sequence 4 mythical creature, the 8-legged black wolf could precisely control a wide range, choosing whom to influence. The orc warlord Soraya Nuo's head felt heavy, and whispers echoed in his ears. Just as his eyelids felt heavy, the roars of Gork and Mork rang in Soraya Nuo's ears. Wog. Green mist rose in Soraya Nuo's mind, and the whispers were like the annoying, chattering noise of snotlings. Soraya Nuo's fierce red eyes suddenly widened, flashing with green lightning. His hair stood on end, and he let out an angry roar. Wog. The orcs in dozens of death dreadnoughts near the orc warlord were awakened by the roar and shouted in response. Wog. More and more death dreadnoughts awoke from their dreams, and the surging black moon boys also joined the ocean of shouts. Freddy felt a hint of disdain flickering in his little brother John's confused eyes. Feeling his authority challenged, he immediately decided to enter his mythical creature form. Black mist rose, and eternal darkness swallowed the green tide. 2 pairs of legs instantly grew from the 8-legged black wolf's abdomen, and surging power lifted its body. Its 8 legs sliced through the sky, creating ripples. Bang, bang, bang. Dozens of orc death dreadnoughts and the second battle group's dreadnought mechs collapsed to the ground in a daze. Freddy could not control his mythical creature form, and the dissipating power caused both friend and foe to fall into a coma. Wilshire, the bard, swayed. He ascended to the first level of Telemaria Mind Realm and sang loudly. He did not fall asleep, but black-armored warriors behind him kept collapsing. Wilshire's gaze was deep. He activated Subspace Insight, his gaze penetrating the thick black mist, striving to look at the 8-legged black wolf in the air. Open black lens bracket. That is the Gene Father's pet. He has 4 more legs than usual. His hypnosis is far more terrifying than the Legion's psychic mind users. Close black lens bracket. Wilshire's gaze shifted downward, searching for the Gene Father's figure. He saw the original body servant Arsena done raising his staff. Arsena, having ascended to the second level of Telemaria Mind Realm, wielded the psionic staff in his hand with all his might, engraved with 3 fire dragon runes. As he mobilized warp energy, he felt the energy he gathered was double that of the past. The silver-haired psychic only swung the psionic staff violently when he felt he could not control the vast power. The psionic crystal at the head of the staff shone brightly, and a fire dragon several meters wide swept towards the death dreadnought, blocking the flame number. Several death dreadnoughts were engulfed by the fire, liquefying into molten iron in a few breaths, splashing onto the ground. Arsena's forehead was covered in sweat. He laboriously retracted his staff and looked forward. In front of the orc's black and yellow flamed super heavy armor, he saw a black armored figure flash. Soraya Nuo roared in anger, green mist rising in his mind, contending with the black mist. The flame number's mechanical claw was raised high, striking at Ning Lu. Ning Lu was faster than him. He seized the opportunity Freddy's mythical creature form had created for him. The Val's sword stabbed out like lightning, piercing through the gap between the dreadnought mech fragments and the ancient beast's original steel body. The fragile connection was pierced, and the blue-white decomposition field tore apart large pieces of armor. The Val's sword pierced Soraya Nuo's abdomen, and the freshly clotted wound burst open. Ning Lu's raised left arm, the hand of order, blocked the mechanical claw, then he gripped the mechanical claw with a backhand and pulled hard. The flame number was pulled forward by the Gene Seed Primarch's immense strength, and the Val's sword swung again, slicing across Soraya Nuo's neck. The Gene Seed Primarch's precise control allowed the energy field to destroy only Soraya Nuo's throat, preserving his full set of teeth and the war boss banner he carried on his back. In Ning Lu's psychic vision, they all shimmered with spiritual light. Seeing Ning Lu slay the orc warlord, Freddy, nearing his limit, immediately ended his mythical creature form and landed on the ground. The eight-legged black wolf, having reverted to its four-legged form, held its head high, glancing out of the corner of its eye at the brain cat. The second battle group Order Shadows, recovering from their daze, witnessed the Gene Father slay the Orc warlord, avenging their lord, and let out deafening cheers. They, along with the honor guard who had just arrived, launched a swift assault on the remaining orcs. The orcs, meanwhile, suffered a massive drop in morale due to the warlord's death. They immediately fell into a chaotic state of fighting for themselves, and some, more cunning than others, turned and fled. Ning Lu resheathed the Val's sword at his waist and picked up the orc warlord's head. The original body servant exited his Telemaria mind realm and walked to his side, taking down the stasis box from his back. Ning Lu placed the orc's head into the stasis box, and the original body servant pressed the runic symbol, activating the stasis field. Ning Lu then picked up the war boss banner. In his psychic vision, the three heads of his offspring hanging on it did not shimmer with spiritual light, indicating they were not an integral part of the war boss banner. A hint of sadness and anger appeared in his eyes. The Xenos had actually used his offspring's corpses as war trophies. He gently removed the three heads and handed them, along with the war boss banner, to a member of the honor guard. Bury them, and send the war boss banner to my trophy vault. Ning Lu drew the Val's sword again, put on his war mask, and vented his sorrow and anger on the death dreadnoughts. The orc dreadnoughts were destroyed one by the Berserk Geneseed Primarch. After slaying 14 death dreadnoughts in a row, Ning Lu's rage subsided, and he could no longer see any death dreadnoughts in his sight. Ning Lu removed his war mask, and his spirituality was touched. He walked to a thunder hammer, which was firmly grasped by a severed arm. Around it were scattered armor fragments and broken corpses. This thunder hammer was no different from other components, only it was completely black. Wilshire came to his side and said sadly, "That was Lord James's. He almost killed the orc warlord." Ning Lu looked again at James's broken body, and sorrow reappeared in his eyes. He comforted himself. Open black lens bracket. A damaged corpse is better than being impaled on a flag for humiliation. Close black lens bracket. He nodded slightly, thinking to himself. Open black lens bracket. There are no extraordinary characteristics around. The lawyer's extraordinary characteristics have merged with the thunder hammer, turning it into a magical weapon containing extraordinary power. Close black lens bracket. Considering the significance of the thunder hammer to the second battle group, and knowing that Wilshire was a sun pathway beyander, Ning Lu said, "This thunder hammer is for your use. It will have one or two more abilities than ordinary weapons. If you cannot discover them yourself, ask the chief forgemaster when you see him. The appraiser can appraise extraordinary weapons." Wilshire took the thunder hammer with both hands. "I will make good use of it and not disgrace Lord James's honor." Ning Lu nodded and said in a deep voice, "Of course, you must inherit James's glory. From today onward, you are the lord of the second battle group." Ning Lu thought that sequence 8 inches light supplicant, sequence 5 inches priest of light, and sequence 2 inches light chaser, of the sun pathway all had elements of light, so he said, "Your title is Lord of Light." Wilshire did not decline. He said confidently, "Father, I will not disappoint you." Wilshire became the youngest and fastest lord among the Order Shadows trained in the normal system of the 11th Legion. 2 hours later, Leman Russ and Hannibal both learned that the Orc warlord had been slain by Ning Lu. Chapter 236, Ferrus Manus discovered early. Please subscribe. On the main planet of Flame Wheel, southern continent, Hannibal, leading his honor guard, had just captured an orc fortress. The chosen prey was neatly cut by the bear hunting knife, and the legion's chefs were bustling nervously. With an elegant smile on his face, Hannibal listened to Suarez's briefing, then said with great interest, "Ning Lu has defeated Leman Russ once again. Father and Horus were right, Mikado was mistaken." After a moment of thought, he looked around, a hint of nostalgia flashing in his eyes. Hannibal gave the order. "Order the legion to begin storing food, select high-quality ingredients, and send them to the Legion's battleship for refrigeration. On the west side of the northern continent, Leman Russ fell silent after listening to Joran's briefing. For more than 10 seconds, the air was like the frozen world of Fenris, and the wild wolves around him said nothing. Frecky and Jerry felt the heavy atmosphere, their eyes widening as they looked at their wolf brothers. The Wolf King suddenly laughed heartily and said to the wild wolves around him, "A man of Fenris will not be defeated by failure. If you lose, you lose. Win it back next time." The wild wolves burst into laughter, and the oppressive atmosphere was swept away. Joran gripped the handle of his power axe, the annoying face of Sanchez flashing in his mind. Frecky and Jerry blinked their large eyes, burying their heads in their fur. Leman Russ's voice covered the entire fortress, and he shouted loudly, "Depart immediately and continue the Orc Purge." At the same time, Ning Lu ordered the heavily damaged 2nd Battle Group to withdraw from the battlefield, while other battle groups continued to purge the Orcs. After returning to the Worthy Shadow, Ning Lu first pulled out 11 teeth from the Orc Warlord, thinking to himself, "Open black lens bracket. The Orc Warlord's teeth, as a material for magic potions, are more effective than ordinary Black Moon Boys. The auxiliary materials are all gathered, only the main materials are missing, 1 Osiris Mind Control Seed and 1 Mind Eater. The first Randon War should be enough to gather all the materials." Close black lens bracket. Ning Lu sent the teeth, the boss's flag, and other items back to the disordered country, then summoned his original body servant, Arsenadun. Order the astropathic choir master to send astropathic messages to the Emperor, the Hand Imprinter, and Horus, informing them that I have slain the Orc Warlord entrenched on Flame Wheel. The original body servant did not act immediately. He spoke. "My lord, there is an important astropathic message from the 15th Legion that I believe you should know." Ning Lu looked at the original body servant. "What?" "My lord, after the campaign against the Yogal, the 15th Legion, according to your orders, departed from the Persephone system and explored towards the southwest of the galactic map. They traveled to a star system ancient Terra called Steen Rose, and made a significant discovery. Steen Rose, one of the sons of Perseus and Andromeda in ancient Greek mythology." Ning Lu felt a sense of familiarity upon hearing the name. His thoughts raced, and he recalled. Open black lens bracket him, Steen Rose will be renamed Medusa. Medusa IV will be the homeworld of the 10th Legion, the Iron Hands. Ferrus Manus has been discovered. But in my memory, he didn't return to the Imperium until 824, 2 years later. This is because I dispatched the 1,000 Suns to explore towards the southwest, discovering the Medusa star system ahead of schedule. Close black lens bracket. While Ning Lu was deep in thought, the original body servant continued his report. After the 15th Legion arrived in the Steen Rose system, they found the system cold and desolate, like a tomb. However, the system was full of wreckage and derelict ships, silicate dust clouds, and shattered asteroids of various sizes. The student of ratiocination guessed, feeling a slight melting sensation within him. In such a situation, the Astartes of the 15th Legion would likely believe this to be an ancient void battlefield from the Old Night. Based on my understanding of them, I believe they, driven by curiosity for knowledge, attempted to find data slates and other information. Ning Lu nodded slightly. This matched his understanding of the 1,000 Suns and Azek Ahriman. The original body servant continued. When the 15th Legion's warships approached Steen Rose IV, they discovered a massive planetary structure built in orbit, constructed in the void after the Dark Age of technology had frantically plundered the planet's resources. The enormous ring structure was severely damaged, with many parts having fallen to the surface. The 15th Legion encountered a series of challenges, including sudden ion storms, randomly out-of-control space mines, and a large number of ancient but still deadly automated weapon systems. The student of ratiocination once again applied logical deduction to the briefing. I surmise that despite significant losses, the 15th Legion's fleet continued to approach, lured by the knowledge hidden on Steen Rose IV. The original body servant operated a data slate, pulling up the briefing sent by the 15th Legion. After the 15th Legion's fleet reached low orbit, their auger matrix penetrated its dense atmosphere. After filtering out the strong light reflected by the atmosphere below, they discovered a planet that was almost lifeless, accompanied by dangerous seismic activity and unstable geological structures. The exploration fleet's scan revealed abandoned mineral extraction tunnels deep beneath the ice and tundra, extending to the planet's core. The cold surface was torn by those massive scars and impact craters. The 15th Legion then received a signal, a ghostly signal in the communication channel, composed of Gothic-like language and distorted technological ciphers. Its source was scattered, like a heartbeat, from the thermal signals of super-gigantic thermal reactors made of petrified-like material. The student of ratiocination once again performed logical deduction, filling in the missing information. The Astartes of the 15th Legion, naturally, would not give up exploring the relics of the Dark Age of technology. They dispatched an expedition team to the surface. The original body servant pulled up a new report and continued. The 15th Legion was surprised to discover human survivors on the surface, stubbornly surviving after the Great Catastrophe, forming different clans. The Astartes used their psychic abilities to learn from several clans, including Avini, that the locals called their world Medusa. They also learned that a mythical demigod had come to the various clans, imparting knowledge and helping them to develop and grow. The demigod did not rule them but guided them to maintain clan competition and led them to excavate ruins and develop technology. The demigod also defeated a silver dragon named Asimos. Upon hearing this, Ning Lu was already certain that this demigod of Medusa IV was Ferrus Manus. The Iron Hands, name originated from Ferrus Manus acquiring a pair of powerful iron hands after the molten silver metal merged with his damaged arm when he crushed the silver dragon into magma and killed it. Open black lens bracket originally, Ferrus Manus's return ceremony and Leman Russ's flame wheel triumphal ceremony were held together. Even with my arrival, they should still be held together, but now with me and Hannibal, who participated in the flame wheel campaign, present, close black lens bracket. While he was contemplating, the original body servant continued. Azek Ahriman, after visiting the demigod of Medusa, believed that this giant named Ferrus Manus was another gene seed Primarch. They immediately reported this news to you. The above content is the astropathic message meticulously restored by the astropathic choir master. The missing parts are my deductions based on the information. Ning Lu nodded, praising. Excellent deduction. Hearing the gene seed Primarch's praise, Arsino felt something break within him. He felt he was not far from becoming a true student of ratiocination. I think the Emperor will be very pleased to hear this message. Order the astropathic master to send him the news of the discovery of a new gene seed Primarch on Medusa IV along with the news of my slaying the Orc warlord. The original body servant immediately accepted the order. As you command, my lord. The 11th Legion continued to purge the remaining greenskins on the main planet of Flame Wheel. 10 standard days later, Ning Lu received a report from the original body servant. My lord, the Emperor is pleased with your achievements. He summons you to the Medusa star system to accompany him in retrieving the gene seed Primarch. Chapter 237, Huang Laohan gets addicted to lying down and winning, seeking subscription. Ning Luo thought of the various, Dark Age of technology, relics on Medusa and immediately decided to answer the human Emperor's call. After a moment of thought, he decided on the accompanying personnel. The 4th battle group will accompany me to Medusa. Order the Death Lord to immediately withdraw from the surface and prepare to set sail. Ning Luo remembered that the Black Snow Mountain of Kalash, where Ferrus Manus fell, was considered a cursed place by the locals, haunted by the spirits of the dead from the long old night and monsters with steel skins. Ferrus Manus delved into the frozen ruins of Medusa, opening several ancient, sealed underground bunkers, where he discovered mutants and zombies hidden deep within, as well as cyborgs composed of flesh and metal. Extraordinary individuals following the death pathway could play a role on Medusa. Of course, there were also extraordinary individuals of the Paragon pathway and tech sergeants. Order Gabriel to come see me. Chief Forgemaster Rozicki Czech was presiding over the placement of teleportation gates and fortress-class energy shields in 7-star systems, while Wojciech Belik was developing Sepra Mundi. 2 standard hours later, Ning Lu met Tech Sergeant Gabriel. "What is the current status of the Vixtrix family's knight mechs?" Gabriel reported. "My lord, according to your command, ever since Vixtrix swore allegiance to you, I have been assisting them in repairing their knight mechs. As of my departure from the Daxos twin-star system, 83 of the Vixtrix family's 95 mechs have been repaired. The other 12 were severely damaged, and I was unable to repair them. Upon arriving in the Flame Wheel star system, I have been operating with the Knights of Vixtrix. 40 knight mechs suffered varying degrees of damage in combat. Among them, 14 are beyond repair, and 10 were destroyed by death dreadnoughts and artillery during the assault on the Orc warlord's stronghold." After listening to Vixtrix's briefing, Ning Lu spoke. "You will accompany me to the Medusa star system." Subsequently, through questioning and observing Gabriel's aura, he confirmed that Gabriel had digested the Savon potion. After Ning Lu had Arsena brief Gabriel on the situation in Medusa, he returned to the Nation of Disorder, and ordered the space monkeys to prepare a dose of the Archaeologist potion. Upon returning to the real world, Gabriel drank the golden potion, advancing to Sequence 8 Extraordinary. 5 standard days later, the Worthy Shadow and the 4th Battle Group's fleet set sail for the Medusa star system. Apart from the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 7th battle groups, the other 8 battle groups deployed varying numbers of troops, along with the 2nd and 6th legions, to continue clearing the remaining greenskins in the Flame Wheel star system. 3 ship weeks later, the fleet arrived in the Medusa star system. Ning Lu boarded a shuttle alone and headed for the human emperor's flagship, Bucephalus. En route, he looked out the viewing window at the Medusa star system. The star in the Medusa star system was very unique. It was a supergiant blue star. This star system had 4 planets orbiting the blue sun. From any perspective, this star system was not a habitable world. It should be classified as a death world, like Catachan and Fenris. A moment later, the shuttle landed on the Bucephalus's landing pad. Stepping off the deck, Ning Lu immediately saw Huang Laohan and Alfarius standing behind him. "Ning Lu, after you find your brother, I will discuss your achievements in the Flame Wheel in detail. Now, let us depart." Ning Lu had no objections and said, "As you wish." The 3 boarded the human emperor's Stormbird, and the gunship immediately took off. Ning Lu's gaze passed through the viewing window, piercing through the silicate dust clouds, asteroids, derelict ships, and other debris within the star system, looking towards the gigantic planet, Medusa IV, which was several times the size of Terra. The Gene Seed Primarch's eyes suddenly narrowed. He keenly sensed a vibrant psionic energy emanating from the human emperor, enveloping the Stormbird. Ion storms, randomly out-of-control space mines, and a large number of ancient but still deadly automated weapon systems. In Warp Vision, it was a cold world, only slightly less frigid than Fenris. The violent ion storms and drifting space mines were all isolated. The ancient and deadly automated weapon systems were as if blind, allowing the Stormbird to fly past them. On Medusa's surface, the throne cast from Medusa iron was like the hard stone of a desolate, shadowy land, and as black as shale in winter. Like all creations of Ferrus Manus's hands, it was very beautiful. The throne had a towering, handcrafted metal chain backrest and somewhat worn armrests, with rough iron bars coiled like snakes, etched with silver scales. Ferrus Manus, who was conversing with those around him on the throne, looked up at the sky, his liquid metal-like silver eyes flashing with dazzling light. The Medusans, following Gorgon, their demigod, looked up at the sky and saw the dense atmosphere seemingly split by lightning. In the Medusans' memory, such a scene had only occurred twice. The first time was when Gorgon descended, and now was the second time. Ferrus Manus suddenly stood up, his voice ringing out as before, a leaden sound echoing through the hall. He said to Gabriel Santo and the Iron Fathers he had trained, "Get ready." The Medusans' Gorgon offered no explanation and strode away. The Iron Fathers frantically climbed onto their machines, each vehicle at least 100 meters long. Engines roared, and Santo and the Iron Fathers floored the accelerators, their steel war machines speeding forward. But they were quickly outrun by Gorgon. The Iron Fathers' war machines sped across the bumpy surface. The 100-meter-long steel war machines were like toys, sometimes thrown into the air, sometimes plunging into impact craters. One steel war machine, unfortunately, crashed diagonally into an abandoned mineral excavation tunnel that reached the planet's core, being swallowed instantly, leaving only the explosive sound of impact and terrified screams. "Stop!" Santo of the Avini clan shouted loudly. "Trust Gorgon, he is a demigod. No one can threaten him." 1 standard hour later, the Stormbird landed. Ning Lu was 1 step behind Huang Laohan, and Alfarius, as before, was also 1 step behind him. Ning Lu looked at Ferrus Manus. His shale-colored hair was cut very short. His eyes were like 2 silver coins, reflecting no light, with an indifferent gaze, scrutinizing the 3 of them. He wore chainmail, with serrated straps made of Medusa iron strung together, revealing pale, knotted, and scarred muscles. Ferrus Manus was not as savage as the Wolf King. He was like a boning knife, or handcrafted armor. Ning Luo's gaze finally focused on Ferrus Manus's hands, which shimmered as if wearing liquid metal gloves. His eyes were deep, and he thought to himself, "Open black lens bracket Asimos is very likely truly a star god, or at least a fragment, close black lens bracket." As Ning Luo pondered, the human emperor spoke. "Ferrus Manus, my son. I am the lord of mankind. It is time for you to return to my side." Ferrus Manus spoke, his voice leaden. "You must prove that you possess power comparable to mine." He clenched his silver fists, and even though the starlight was obscured by thick clouds, his iron hands shone brilliantly. The human emperor's eyes flashed, and he said, "Your brother, Ning Luo, will fight you in my stead." Ning Luo frowned slightly, glanced at Huang Laohan, and thought to himself, "Open black lens bracket is Huang Laohan getting addicted to lying down and winning. First, he made me fight Lehman Russ, and now he's making me fight Ferrus Manus. Unlike the Wolf King, who would inevitably have conflicts due to psionic powers, there's no reason for me and Medusa's Gorgon to have a conflict." Chapter 238 Ning Luo's proposed contest. Ferrus Manus's silver eyes looked at the warrior named Ning Lu, who was slightly taller than him. His black long hair fluttered in the wind, his face was like a marble sculpture, and his black eyes were deep. Ferrus Manus habitually cast his gaze towards the black armor, which was entirely paint black, with every surface hand-forged and exquisitely crafted. The armor for Ning Lu was forged by tech priest Malevalis, who also forged Horus's armor. He was the top artisan of the Mechanicus. But in Ferrus Manus's innate metallurgical talent, every piece of equipment and every curve of the armor had not yet reached its peak. He then looked at Ning Lu's left hand and saw the silver power fist. "Your gauntlet, its polished steel shines with a perfect arc." As he spoke, he raised his left arm, and the silver metal gleamed. "My hand is also silver, and I wonder whose hand is stronger." Ning Lu's eyes were deep. The Justiciar pathways sequence one hand of order against the Iron Hand, which was suspected to be a star god shard, was somewhat interesting, but there was something more valuable. Compared to curiosity, he was more interested in the ancient ruins of Medusa. He cast his gaze into the distance, looking at the mountains, and beneath the ice. "I know from Azek Ahriman's report that Medusa has countless ruins from the dark age of technology. This Gorgon, often led teams to explore underground ruins. Let's have a contest of exploration. We each lead a team to excavate an ancient ruin. Whoever finds ancient relics with the highest total value wins, and the winner gets all the spoils of the loser." The Emperor, upon hearing this, first frowned slightly. In the countless futures he foresaw, Ning Lu had defeated one or more Gene Seed Primarch in many threads of fate. Ning Lu defeated the Gene Seed Primarch who betrayed the Empire and him. He had also seen similar scenes on Lehman Russ, but not as frequently as he saw them on Ning Lu. He had decided to bestow the Jushin spear, which he personally forged, as a reward for the flame wheel to Ning Lu or Rus during the Terra celebration. The Emperor saw the immense power contained within Ferrus Manus. He was the best test subject. If Ning Lu could defeat Manus, he would be the master of the Jushin spear. But his plan was disrupted by Ning Lu. He rejected a martial contest and proposed exploring ruins. After a few seconds of silence, the Emperor spoke before Manus could. Ning Lu, this is not a fair contest. Manus is more familiar with Medusa, and the talents in forging and technology I bestowed upon him also give him an advantage. Ferrus Manus's brain spun rapidly, taking into account his knowledge of the ruins and the Iron Father he had cultivated. He also considered the Emperor's words, and from every angle, he believed he would inevitably win. He's right, you can't defeat me in ruin exploration. Ning Lu's eyes flickered, he keenly sensed the Emperor's momentary change in emotion. Open black lens bracket. It's not the worry that Manus won't return to the Empire if I lose the duel. Instead, it's a sudden astonishment, as if I disrupted one of his plans. Huang Laohan is not a lazy person, so his sending me to battle must have some purpose, but it's not just for victory. Then there's only one possibility, to test my combat power, close black lens bracket. Ning Lu's eyes were deep. Regardless of Huang Laohan's purpose in testing his strength, he could not use all of his extraordinary abilities in front of Huang Laohan. This further solidified his idea of competing with Manus in exploring ruins. Open black lens bracket. Even if I lose, I will only lose what was not originally mine. If I win, I can get all the good things from 2 ruins. What's more, I may not lose, I have spirit medium and archaeologist, close black lens bracket. Thinking this, Ning Lu deliberately exuded confidence and said, I grew up in Vostronia, I am not ignorant of technology. To preserve all items during ruin exploration, a team is needed. Among my descendants, there are many skilled in technology, and I will make good use of their strength. Ferrus Manus's silver eyes gazed at Ning Lu. He felt the confidence emanating from the other party. Since that's the case, then as you said, we will each lead a team to explore the ruins. The Emperor sighed slightly in his heart. The development of the situation exceeded his expectations. Ning Lu and Manus had reached an agreement, and his further interference would appear too abnormal. As Manus gathered the Iron Father, Ning Lu's consciousness spread. The ion storms and debris surrounding the planet interfered with communication, so he could only notify Arsena done telepathically. As Ning Lu's consciousness spread, penetrating the thick clouds, he immediately felt it was much more difficult than usual. He immediately ascended to the Telema's 3rd layer of mind, with spirit medium power attached to his will. His consciousness crossed the clouds, passed through the ion storm, flew over the debris, and reached the black battleship in the void. Arsena Dunn was in his office, sitting at the console, reviewing reports from various battle groups on the datapad. He suddenly sensed something and raised his head. The silver-haired spirit medium felt the spreading consciousness, which he was very familiar with. He did not block it, allowing the thought pulses to resonate in his mind. You, Adams, and Gabriel, come to the surface immediately. Bring the exploration team. Ning Lu had already prepared along the way. He selected Order Shadows with relevant traits in exploration and technology from the Honor Guard, 4th Battle Group, and Tech Sergeant. After the journey, the original body servant conveyed the Primarch's order to the Death Lord and Tech Sergeant. An hour later, Arsena and 54 Order Shadows boarded the heavy transport ship and sailed towards Medusa IV. As they approached the wreckage of the spaceship, the original body servant received a report from the captain. Sir, we are about to enter the ring of Medusa IV. Please prepare for impact. The silver-haired spirit medium's blue eyes gleamed. He pressed his hand against the ship's hull, and telekinetic power spread outwards. The heavy transport ship, enveloped by telekinetic power, traveled through the debris. 15 minutes of ship time later, Arsena discovered the first automated defense turret. His telekinetic power touched the control panel, intending to temporarily shut down the turret. A hint of surprise flashed in Arsena's eyes. He found that the turret had been completely shut down. Arsena then consecutively touched several automated weapons and found that all weapon platforms were shut down. As a master of telekinetic spirit medium, he sensed familiar energy from the weapon platforms. It was telekinetic power. Open black lens bracket in Azek Ariman's report, they didn't deal with the weapons. Was it the Emperor? His spirit medium power is astonishing, he could permanently shut down so many weapon platforms. I can never possess such powerful telekinetic power, only a gene seed Primarch might. Close black lens bracket. The deactivation of space mines and weapon platforms made Arsena's challenge much easier. He only needed to defend against the occasional ion storms. 5 hours of ship time later, the transport ship slowly landed. The original body servant wiped the sweat from his forehead and, along with Adams and Gabriel, was the first to step off the deck. A moment later, a roaring sound came. Black exhaust fumes and the thunderous roar of an engine came from a distance, and a steel vehicle appeared in everyone's sight. The steel vehicle was about 300 meters long. It was entirely paint black, but the front of the vehicle was engraved with a dazzling silver hand. The black steel vehicle began to brake a kilometer away, emitting a harsh screeching sound. Amidst the rumbling sound, the steel war vehicle stopped precisely 10 meters in front of Ning Lu, not a single inch off. After the steel vehicle came to a stop, the sound of pneumatic rods transmitting echoed, and side hatches lifted one by one, as Medusan people disembarked from the vehicle. Among them, a dozen or so had more or less cybernetic implants. Several had replaced their flesh and blood bodies with silver cybernetic eyes and silver arms. Ning Lu's gaze swept over the Medusan people, thinking to himself. Open black lens bracket Iron Father. Close black lens bracket. Ning Lu knew that before returning to the Empire, Ferrus Manus had established and trained the Iron Father. They could be seen as a combination of tech priests and shamans. They were responsible for the daily spiritual and technological needs of the various tribes, and at the same time, they exchanged the secrets preserved by each generation of tribes. Through this system, Manus, without directly ruling the various clans and tribes, enabled each tribe to produce better weapons and more powerful machinery. The Iron Father also followed Manus's will, ensuring that the tribes continued to engage in controlled combat, guaranteeing that they would not slack off in the slightest after their lives improved. Open black lens bracket. The Iron Father are also the source of Manus's confidence. They are all masters of machinery and have followed him in excavating countless ruins. Close black lens bracket. After Ferrus Manus stepped out of the cockpit, he walked directly towards Ning Lu. Gabriel Santo and other Medusan people looked in the direction their Gorgon was advancing, and they saw the giant in black armor. The giant's body was as mighty as the Gorgon, like a demigod descending to the mortal world. Manus's scrutinizing gaze swept over the black-armored warriors behind Ning Lu one by one. Every Imperial guard felt immense pressure due to the cold light flickering in the silver eyes. They ascended to the telema's first layer of mind, resisting the instinct to look away. Manus's gaze lingered for a moment on the mechanical arms protruding from the backs of 11 of the black-armored warriors, finally resting on Gabriel. Gabriel felt as if a mountain was pressing down on him. Sweat seeped from his forehead, and his temples throbbed. He ascended to the recently mastered telema's second layer of mind, only then feeling the pressure slightly lessen. A hint of surprise flashed in Manus's eyes. He withdrew his gaze and said to Ning Lu, "Your descendants are good." Ning Lu smiled and said, "Of course, I have confidence in them." After initiating the astropathic communication, Azek Ariman immediately recorded the Medusan language he had mastered, as well as some knowledge discovered by the 15th Legion, onto a datapad and presented it to Lord Ning Lu. The descendants Ning Lu selected had all mastered basic Medusan during the voyage. They understood the conversation between the two gene seed Primarch and were all invigorated. "You are ready. Let's begin now." Ning Lu replied to Manus. "Good." Seeing the two gene seed Primarch lead their teams away, the Emperor asked Alfarius, "Who will win this contest?" Chapter 239, The Spirit Medium. Alfarius pondered for a few seconds before speaking. Ferus Manus will win this competition. This is not like the hunting competition on Fenris. That competition was to hunt the Kraken. Ning Lu and Leman Russ are both gene seed Primarchs, they can both hunt any Kraken. The deciding factor was who found a bigger one. Alfarius paused for a moment, recalling the scene on Fenris. Perhaps Ning Lu was favored by luck, or perhaps his perception was keen, allowing him to find a larger Kraken. Ning Lu might have won, but this time is different. Excavating ruins tests technology. Manus and his people have the advantage in this area, and luck cannot compensate for that. The Emperor's eyes flickered, and his tone was profound. Perhaps Ning Lu will still win. The 11th Legion's ships took off, flying towards the area covered by the poisonous cloud. The landing craft slowly descended. Through the observation window, the Order's shadows saw ruins below, filled with ancient metal equipment and unbelievably large stone structures. They keenly sensed faint, hazy shadows below. Ning Lu knew that the Medusans called this area the Land of Shadows, an ancient ruin complex. In Medusan legends, this place was where ghosts and tribal specters gathered. The landing craft slowly touched down, and Ning Lu led everyone off the deck. He said to everyone, "Tech sergeants, study the equipment. The rest of you, be on alert and familiarize yourselves with the environment." Ning Lu then spoke to Adams. "Spirit medium, it's up to you. Go ask the ghosts and find the largest, oldest, and most precious ruin." Ning Lu thought that the ghosts Adams asked might not know the situation of the entire Medusa. However, they could serve as a medium, as material for ritual magic, to find Medusa's most valuable ruins. So, he sent another thought pulse to the spirit medium. "Bring back any ghosts you encounter." "Yes, Father." The spirit medium inspected the psionic crystals he had crafted. These crystals were in the 4th Battle Group's underground catacombs. The 4th Battle Group's underground catacombs were built on the Battle Group's flagship, the Graveyard, a relic-class battleship bestowed by the Gene Father. At that time, Adams was still a Sequence 8 grave digger. To master the power bestowed by the Gene Father, he extensively studied the death cultures of various races. During this process, he had an idea. The bodies of battle brothers who died fighting for the Gene Father and him should be buried in a graveyard. The Death Lord ultimately decided to emulate those rogue traitor families and construct an entire underground catacomb on the lowest deck of the graveyard, to bury those fallen battle brothers whose bodies could not be interred in dreadnoughts. After becoming a spirit medium, when he used psionic crystals to create containers for spirits, he went alone to the underground catacombs and completed the creation there. He named his creations psionic crystals. The crystals in his hand glowed with a dark green light. Some crystals had scales attached, while others were covered in feathers, all affixed to the crystals with strange, blood-colored symbols. Adams left the team alone. The highly intuitive spirit medium, following his instincts, walked south. In the spirit medium's ears, a series of fragmented, overlapping whispers came from ahead, as if countless invisible people were conversing. The spirit medium walked about 2 kilometers and then stopped. He felt that in the metal machines, in the shadows of the stone building ruins, and in every dim corner, pairs of eyes were watching him. A faint smile appeared on the spirit medium's cold face, as if ice had thawed. "Ghosts lingering in this place, come out." The spirit medium's voice was soft and ethereal, his voice elusive, seemingly blending into the surrounding wind and shadows. His voice, like mist, lingered, its source seemingly from another realm, accompanied by faint echoes. A blurry figure, out of control, was the first to emerge from the metal machine. In the eyes of the Medusans, he was a transparent phantom. But in the spirit medium's eyes, his body was exceptionally clear. He wore a red worker's uniform and carried a shovel. Figure after figure emerged from the metal machines and the ruins. Some were charred black all over, while others held bloody arms. Under Medusa's eternally lightless sky, the specters emerged. Facing this terrifying scene, the spirit medium's face was not as cold as usual. A smile hung at the corner of his mouth as he asked the ghosts. "Among you, who is the earliest immigrant? Step forward." None of the ghosts moved. The charred ghost said in confusion, Am I an outsider, or was I born here? Quote, comma, quote. 4 minutes later, a ghost in lavish attire finally spoke loudly. I remember. I was the first to come here. When we found this world, we called it Steen Rose, following the ancient Terra naming convention. He stepped forward as the spirit medium instructed. As if a memory switch had been flicked, several more specters walked out of the queue. After you, who came here first? The spirit medium, by asking sequentially, generally determined the age of all the ghosts. Medusa did not adopt Terra's timekeeping methods, and the people struggling to survive on this cold and frequently volcanic world had not established commemorative practices either. Then, the spirit medium asked, "Where is the oldest building nearby?" Typically, the older the ruin, the more likely it contained lost ancient technological artifacts, and thus, the more valuable. He didn't ask about ruins because the current ruins, in the era of the ghosts, might have still been functioning factories or other buildings. Show me. Over 100 ghosts pointed in different directions, and 25 of them pointed in the same direction. Among them was the earliest one, the noble ghost in lavish attire. The spirit medium walked up to the noble ghost and asked, "How far is that building from here?" The noble ghost thought for a moment and replied, 59 kilometers. The spirit medium individually asked all the ghosts about the oldest ruins they knew of, then recorded the locations on his data slate. He also separately asked them about the largest and most valuable buildings they knew of. The spirit medium cautiously asked, "What about the oldest ruins you know of?" The ghosts again turned in different directions. He was surprised to see the noble ghost looking in another direction. Open black lens bracket. If he remembered correctly, and if the statement was accurate, then the ruins he knew of existed on Medusa even before humans arrived. Close black lens bracket. Adams, through his inquiries, recorded the oldest, largest, and most valuable ruins known to the ghosts. 2 categories, 3 types each, totaling 6, were recorded on his data slate in different colors. After completing the records, Adams also selected 16 out of the 100+ ghosts. These were all the psionic crystals the spirit medium carried with him. He didn't keep any in reserve because there were another 104 he had crafted in the transport ship's crates. "You, come here." The spirit medium pointed at the noble ghost. He didn't hesitate and immediately moved his feet, walking over. The spirit medium raised his hand, and his spirituality spread towards the ghost in front of him, while simultaneously chanting an incantation in Dun language. "By my name, I summon and command the ghosts lingering in this place to obey me and reside within the crystal in my palm." As the spirit medium chanted the incantation, a grayish-green light enveloped the noble ghost. Before he could speak, an invisible yet irresistible force pulled him towards the green, scaled crystal in the spirit medium's palm. Accompanied by a scream, a gray human face appeared within the green crystal, the face identical to that of the noble ghost. The spirit medium, one by one, bound the selected ghosts within the psionic crystals. No ghosts fled, and none resisted. The spirit medium looked at the other ghosts and spoke. "Thank you for your cooperation. Return now." The ghosts turned and walked back the way they came, and the spirit medium also returned along the same path. Key of Netherworld return, death, pathway. Final explanation, opinion collection vote. 1. Key of Netherworld return. Ferrus Manus discovered a large amount of Dark Age of technology. The forbidden technologies and equipment among them were dispersed into different vaults of Mimir. After he died, the Iron Hands madly used some of the forbidden technologies. The first use of the bioelectronic resurrection ritual, this ritual is also known as Key of Netherworld Return, was in the battle against the Emperor's children in the city of Gamma Origin. In that battle, a device that brought about resurrection was almost completely abused, leading to the completely irregular resurrection of the dead, or, rather, reanimation from the dead. The hatred of the Iron Hand warriors kept them from falling even after enduring so many resurrections. Even if they were dismembered to an incredible degree, they would still rise to fight again and again. Each time an Iron Hand warrior died, that death resurrection device would intensify its radiation until the energy it radiated reached an inexplicable and chaotic level. Then it would awaken the dead from previous battles who had been beaten to pieces and could not possibly rise from any angle, and the awakened dead even included rotten corpses buried in the ground. From ferocious entities composed of things that had been turning into fertilizer in the ground and had died centuries ago, to legion warriors who had just died, all were resurrected. In summary, the Warhammer world can summon corpses from the ground, as well as Astartes zombies, on a scale comparable to a necromantic plague. Considering that many Iron Hands are metallicized, there even exist half-machine, half-flesh living corpses. Furthermore, such creatures also exist in the ruins of Medusa. Previously, ghosts see the sitting words at the end of Chapter 17 Nurgle zombies, and ordinary zombies see the author's words in Chapter 124 were also mentioned. Finally, the Emperor can summon an army of the undead. They can appear not only in the warp but also in reality. In summary, it shows that the undead, ghosts, and zombies exist in the Warhammer world, so the death pathway legitimately exists and will not be explained further. 2. Opinion collection. Received feedback from some readers regarding the reason for not using consistent serial designations for the same person in the text. The reason for writing this way, to let readers understand which sequence the extraordinary abilities used by an extraordinary person originate from. Cuttlefish also adopted this writing style in many extraordinary battles. Now I would like to solicit opinions from all Order Shadows. Please comment in the following option paragraphs, state your choice, and let me know your thoughts. A. Continue with the previous writing style, listing the sequence from which each ability originates, clear and concise. B. Only list the character's current highest sequence, knowing which pathway is sufficient. C. It's tiring to read, and sometimes I have to think for a moment to match it up. I know it myself, or I don't want to make it so clear, fluidity is first. D. Other suggestions. P.S. I will adjust some sequence abilities, especially those whose settings Cuttlefish has not announced. Especially the abilities of the Black Emperor pathway. I will adjust the writing based on the comprehensive feedback. Chapter 240 Punishment Class Reactor. On the frozen lands of Medusa, Ferrus Manus led Gabriel Santo and the Iron Fathers deep underground. They had already used large excavators to open the underground bunker, invading the remains of a giant manufacturing plant buried deep under the ice. Manus stood before a wall, his large silver hand tapping on a wall as large as a void ship's transit deck. This wall was made of data equipment, with a cable-wrapped seat embedded in a broken niche. Manus turned his head to look at Santo, his most trusted son of Medusa. Santo met Gorgon's silver eyes, and it took him a few seconds to regain his composure. Gorgon, the Iron Fathers have conducted a preliminary analysis and determined that these remains fell from space. They are currently searching for all useful items within them. It's not enough, Manus said in a deep, echoing voice, his large silver hand slapping the wall. It allows people to connect to a database through a neural interface in the spine. Through this virtual mind space, ultra-high-speed data transfer and simulation can be performed. Santo looked at Gorgon with admiration. Only he could discover the function of a mechanical creation through simple observation and tapping, without restoration. He gazed at the data equipment and cables forming the wall, and asked in confusion. This is a major discovery. Not only can it process the massive amount of data in war, but it can also simulate battle scenes. With it, can't we win the competition? Manus's silver eyes were deep. There is no absolute certainty. If Ning Lu is in existence like me, which he very likely is, to ensure victory, we must find the origin of Garuda. His coin-like eyes looked at the mechanical eagles flying in the distance. The mechanical eagles were cast from gray steel and brass. The people of Medusa named them Garuda according to their local mythology. 10 Garuda flew to Manus's side. They flapped and circled Manus, emitting piercing screeches. Manus's silver eyes flowed like liquid. They can't find it. Santo had served Gorgon for a long time and detected a hint of disappointment in his tone. Gorgon, I think this wall is enough for us to win the competition. At the same moment, Ning Lu, after listening to the spirit medium Adams's briefing, said to the student of ratiocination Arsena Dunn. Arsena, which location do you think is the most valuable? The student of ratiocination did not answer immediately. He said, Sir, to ensure the accuracy of the reasoning, I need to browse the information first. Adams took out a data pad and sent the information he had to the Gene Seed Primarch, the original body servant, and Tech Sergeant Gabriel. After browsing all the information, the student of ratiocination said, Sir, I believe the building pointed to by the noble ghost and other ghosts is the most valuable relic. In addition, the relic he mentioned should have been built by aliens before humans came to Medusa. Based on the existing information, its value cannot be determined. Ning Lu nodded slightly, acknowledging the student of ratiocination's logical deduction. We will go to that human relic. He then said to the spirit medium, summon the ghost to lead the way. The spirit medium took out a spirit crystal from his body and recited the summoning spell in Dun language. By my name, I summon the spirit residing in the crystal in my palm to appear and be at my command. A chilling wind suddenly rose, and a ghost in luxurious attire appeared before everyone. The noble ghost looked timidly at the tall black giant. As a ghost, he could feel a mountain-like pressure. The spirit medium's tone was ethereal as he ordered the noble ghost. Lead the way to the oldest building you built. The noble ghost walked around for a while before recognizing the direction and stepping forward. The team followed the noble ghost, walking for over 40 kilometers, until a magnificent iceberg appeared in their line of sight. From a distance, the overall outline of the iceberg could be seen. Unlike most icebergs in the world, and even those on Fenris, this iceberg appeared exceptionally strange. The iceberg was uneven in height and extremely irregular in shape. It was like an irregular toy casually kneaded by a mischievous child. The noble ghost suddenly stopped and muttered. It's called Mount McKenna Black Snow, and it's the result of the war that broke out when the first colonists fought over Steen Rose. The archaeologist Gabriel asked curiously. Black Snow. The noble ghost fell into ancient memories, and it took him more than 10 seconds to speak. The large amount of carbides or sulfides thrown into the atmosphere at high temperatures after a nuclear explosion, and the products that fell after they cooled, are what we call black snow. The archaeologist and the student of ratiocination exchanged glances. He looked at the iceberg ahead and said in astonishment, If what you say is true, that was truly a terrible war. The spirits I command do not lie, the spirit medium said. Ning Lu knew the ghost was real, but he had always been puzzled. By any measure, the Medusa star system was not suitable for human habitation. Was it worth fighting so fiercely for such a star system? Why did you fight over this star system and pay such a huge price? The noble ghost looked timidly and said, We found an alien relic here, and a war broke out to contend for it. Ning Lu's eyes were deep. He thought of the Medusa star system's environment, then of the fragments floating in the void, and also of Medusa's alien relics. He also thought of Asinos, the silver bipedal dragon suspected to be a void dragon fragment, who was released when Ferris Monus's gestation pod crashed into Mount Kalash Black Snow. Open black lens bracket. If Asinos is indeed a void dragon fragment, Medusa might be one of the worlds where the space Necrons sealed him. Close black lens bracket. While he was contemplating, the noble ghost fell into memory and continued. To contend for the relic, a protracted war broke out, and that's how McKenna was born. After I discovered the alien relic in the northernmost part of Steen Rose, I landed here and built a base underground in the mountain to facilitate the excavation of the alien relic. As he spoke, the team arrived at the foot of Mount McKenna Black Snow. The tech sergeants all felt the extreme cold. They had to continuously swing their mechanical arms to prevent them from freezing and affecting their use. The death pathway extraordinary individuals under the Necron Lord were more adaptable. The team followed the noble ghost along a winding path and arrived at a metal gate. The spirit medium asked the noble ghost, How do we open the gate? The noble ghost walked to the gate, thought for more than 10 seconds, and then said, It needs a key to open. The spirit medium then asked, Where is the key? I don't know where the key is. It used to be with my servant, but I don't know where his body is, or if the key is damaged. Gabriel walked to the gate, his mechanical arm swinging quickly and carefully, using a metal drill to clear the years of ice covering the gate's surface. The tech sergeant did not continue. His mechanical probe gently tapped the metal gate terminal a few times, then turned to the Gene Father and said, "No force can be applied to the door. Its thickness is no less than 5 meters. Forcibly opening it may activate the device's defense facilities. In fact, its thickness is 10 meters, the noble ghost's tone was tinged with pride. Even if a void ship conducts orbital bombardment on McKenna, it can survive. It was originally a void shipwreck. My technicians improved the void shield to provide protection for the entire base. Once the decryption fails and the defense mechanism is triggered, the entire base will explode." The tech sergeant frowned. He asked, "What powers the defense facilities?" The relic was built in the dark technology age, thousands of years ago. Ordinary defense facility power arrays should have long since failed. Punishment-class reactor, the name the noble ghost said was unfamiliar to the tech sergeant. Ning Lu, however, felt familiar. He thought for a moment before remembering. The punishment-class reactor was a unique reactor used on Iron Hands ships. Compared to the plasma reactors used by most Imperial ships, the punishment-class reactor could provide stronger energy, allowing Iron Hands ships to have more powerful weapon arrays and also power automatically recharging void shields. Open black lens bracket. Perhaps this technology came from the ancient relic before them. Then, the value of the relic before them is not low. Close black lens bracket. Ning Lu thought of the explosion caused by the punishment-class reactor. Even if he survived, his offspring would suffer heavy casualties. He asked, "We can't force it open. Gabriel, can you open it?" "Father, I need time for further inspection." The archaeologist's mechanical probe slid rapidly across the gate terminal, and after 10 minutes, he said, "Father, I can, but I cannot determine how long it will take. This is the first time I have seen something so complex and incredible. The code in the gate will generate sub-passwords, and these sub-passwords require specialized decryption. It reproduces like an ecosystem, constantly changing, reacting to my intrusion by evolving into a more complex system." Ning Lu thought that he and Ferris Manus had no clear agreement on time. Although neither side would exploit indefinitely by digging one relic after another, Huang Laohan would also not allow such a situation to occur. But he believed in the archaeologist's ability, and the punishment-class reactor was something he wanted and a discovery that might lead him to victory, so he said, "Begin, decrypt the defense facilities as quickly as possible." "As you wish," the archaeologist said excitedly. He was also very interested in this ecological code. While the archaeologist led the Savon ones to begin decrypting the code, Ning Lu ordered the 4th Regiment Order Shadows to be on alert, then said to the spirit medium, "Take your spirit. I still have questions to ask him about that alien relic." He, the original body servant, and the spirit medium left the gate area and stopped after walking 1 kilometer. Chapter 241, Automatically Recharging Void Shield. Ning Lu looked at the noble ghost and asked, "What's in that alien ruin?" After a moment of recollection, the noble ghost replied, "Mechanical eagles, golden mechanical eagles." Golden. Ning Lu frowned slightly. He knew the Iron Hands had a type of mechanical eagle called Garuda, but they were forged from gray steel and brass. A thought flashed through his mind, and he had a guess. "You made imitations of the mechanical eagles." The noble ghost looked at the black-armored giant in astonishment. "Yes, we made imitations. My technicians studied the mechanical eagles for 10 years and still couldn't figure out their manufacturing principles or functions, or even the materials they were made from. Later, I ordered them to be opened up for simple imitation. My technician used gray steel and brass to forge mechanical birds, and because they resembled the mythical Garuda, they were named as such." Ning Lu nodded slightly. He had guessed correctly. Garuda indeed came from there. What else is there? After a moment of deep thought, the noble ghost replied, "I don't remember any other special features." Ning Lu said to the spirit medium, "Perform a spirit medium communion on him." The human brain is only aware of a very small part, more secrets are hidden in the mind. This is the realm explored by Mind Department spirit mediums, and the Dreamer pathway, and the spirit medium also touches upon this area. For a spirit medium to perform a spirit medium communion on a person, it requires the cooperation of methods like hypnosis, using gentle means to explore the secrets of the mind. This way, it neither harms the target nor causes mental damage, which could lead to loss of information. Spirit medium communion with a ghost is much simpler and more direct, as they are already in a spiritual state. The spirit medium's eyes deepened, and his black pupils glowed with a gray-green light. His spirituality enveloped the ghost, and he spoke in an ethereal tone. "Tell me, what is in that ruin? Tell me," the spirit medium murmured repeatedly. The noble ghost looked around in confusion. Everything was becoming blurry and constantly swaying. He felt as if he was enveloped in layer upon layer of thick fog, causing his body to sway and blur with it. In an instant, the mist suddenly shifted, and he seemed to return to that ruin. He spoke in an ethereal tone. "I saw golden mechanical eagles. The ruin was very strange. There were no lumen lamps or any energy facilities, yet the entire ruin was brightly lit. As soon as I walked in, I felt hot all over, and sweat dripped down." The noble ghost recounted over a dozen memories he didn't consciously remember, but which were still preserved in his spirit. Light, heat. Ning Lu's mind raced, and suddenly a thought flashed. Open black lens bracket. These are all related to fire. Related to this, Medusa's shadow land, lava lake is too strange. Assuming Asinos is a star god shard, even Ferrus Manus fought him for days and couldn't kill him, so why was he killed after falling into the lava lake? What kind of lava could kill a star god shard? And its high temperature carbonized the gene seed Primarch's hand, leaving permanent scars on him. Close black lens bracket. Ning Lu had a hunch that the alien ruin was somehow connected to Medusa's destructive lava. Open black lens bracket. Perhaps the secret within that alien ruin is Medusa's biggest hidden secret. It might be the most valuable ruin. Close black lens bracket. Ning Lu's eyes flickered. Besides its value, he also realized the danger within. Open black lens bracket. Destructive power poses a threat to both the gene seed Primarch and the star god shard. Close black lens bracket. He looked at his right hand, the moon pathway, the blood-colored necklace that comprehensively enhanced recovery, and the red priest pathway, the ring that allowed him to transform into fire. Open black lens bracket. These two are both sequence 4-level magical items. One enhances my recovery, the other allows me to transform into fire, reducing fire damage. Even if I encounter danger, I should be able to escape. Close black lens bracket. Thinking this, Ning Lu decided to explore that alien ruin, but only after activating the newly discovered ruin. He returned to the main gate with the original body servant and the Death Lord. The archaeologist and Savon were nervously deciphering the code. "The code has evolved," and Savon exclaimed in surprise. He had memorized all the codes detected by the mechanical probe, but just now, the codes changed completely in an instant. "It's reacting to our decryption like a living thing. Its ancient soul is fighting us." The archaeologist's mechanical probe stopped moving, and he spoke. "Our work wasn't in vain. Although the code changed, I've already found a pattern within it. The code has indeed evolved, but I have found a pattern within it. The logical basis for the ruin's ceiling is built upon 1 billion individual codes. Based on these individual codes, by deducing, as long as my calculation speed is faster than its evolution speed, I can complete the decryption." Gabriel, having found the decryption method, turned to the Gene Father and said, "It is estimated that the decryption can be completed in 30 standard days." Ning Lu felt the time was too long. Huang Laohan might not have that much patience. After a moment of contemplation, he said, "Arsena and I will assist you." The Gene Seed Primarch thought for a moment, then issued division of labor orders. "You and the Tech Sergeant are responsible for detection. Tell me the formulas, I will be responsible for the calculations. Arsena is responsible for the deductions." With that, Ning Lu's will spread out, establishing a spirit medium link with everyone. The tech sergeants were immersed in the warm feeling generated by their limited spirit medium contact with the Gene Father. Tens of seconds later, they arrived at the main gate terminal, where mechanical probes moved rapidly across it. The Gene Seed Primarch obtained all the decryption formulas from Gabriel's mind. He input all the codes into the formulas and began rapid calculations. A torrent of data surged through his brain. His calculation speed far exceeded the sum of all his sons. The Gene Seed Primarch sent the calculation results to the student of ratiocination for deduction. Through the spirit medium link, the Gene Seed Primarch constantly grasped the results of the student of ratiocination's deductions and the tech sergeant's detections. The speed of code deduction was faster than the evolution speed of the defense system code. In the high-speed cycle, the gap grew larger and larger. An hour later, Gabriel's hand pressed on the main gate terminal, typing rapidly. In less than a breath, he typed 16 codes. Finally, he pressed the high Gothic letter, O. With a bang, followed by the sound of hinges and piston air pressure. The first meter-thick gate slowly opened. The defense system of the second gate was more complex, taking 1 1/5 standard hours to decrypt. Opening the third gate took 1 1/4 standard hours. After all 10 gates were opened, Ning Lu led his team into the ancient ruin. As soon as he entered the ruin, he smelled the ozone in the air. Through the transparent bubble-shaped energy field, the Gene Seed Primarch saw that the ruin was as large as a cruiser. Cables were as dense as a spiderweb, connecting various machinery. The core of the entire factory was a silver control console, next to which was a dazzling reactor. Gabriel led his team to deactivate the void shield, and after checking the operation logs and machinery, he excitedly approached Ning Lu. "Father, after initial inspection, we found a punishment-class reactor and an automatically recharging void shield." Ning Lu nodded with satisfaction, thinking to himself. Open black lens bracket. The two technologies on the Iron Hand's void ship were probably discovered in this ruin. Even on Medusa, this ruin is a major discovery. Close black lens bracket. Well done. The archaeologist felt his vitality and spirituality become more active, almost melting, upon hearing the Gene Seed Primarch's praise. Just then, the Death Lord suddenly spoke. "Father, something is approaching." Chapter 242 Star God Shard. The 4th Battle Group warriors guarding the entrance saw countless humanoid creatures prostrate on the ground. They were unclothed in the icy snow, with thick fur covering their bodies. They no longer showed any human characteristics. Some had sharp claws protruding dozens of centimeters. Some had tusks protruding, like ferocious beasts. The grave digger, commanding the guards at the entrance, shouted loudly. "Degenerate mutants, open fire." The Order shadows raised their bolt guns and unleashed a dense rain of bullets upon the mutants. The bolt guns roared, and the mutants were blown to pieces. Inside the ruins, the spirit medium reported to the Gene Seed Primarch. "Father, the foolish mutants have been repelled. But there are still undead creatures deep within these ruins. They broke in because the void shield was deactivated." Ning Lu had already recalled what it was. When Ferrus Manus excavated the underground ruins, he encountered zombie-like creatures. They were half flesh, half machine monsters, seizing machines from the ruins. He, along with Adams and Arsena, hurried towards the depths of the ruins. Machine equipment was left behind them, one after another. The Gene Seed Primarch would not allow his spoils of war to be taken. He sprinted at full speed, leaving the two behind, and reached the depths of the ruins in a few breaths. He saw dozens of strange creatures approaching with heavy steps. Some were bare-chested, with their lower bodies resembling an 8-legged spider. Some had drills and chainsaws attached to their arms, with stiff, rotting heads emitting cold air. The flesh-metal hybrid zombies shambled forward, rushing towards Ning Lu. The Gene Seed Primarch drew Val's sword and charged into the monster horde. Blue-white light flashed, destroying monsters one by one. He rushed into the mountain's interior and saw countless half-metal, half-flesh zombies surging towards him. Adams arrived second. The grave digger activated his Death's Eye, observing the undead monsters from a higher perspective. He charged into the half-metal, half-flesh zombie horde, swinging his charged blade, striking the undead creature's heart, which was its power core. The disintegration field shredded the energy heart, and the grave digger rushed towards another undead creature, using his charged blade to hack off its frozen, rotting head. Arsena Dun arrived last. He raised his staff in his right hand, and the fire dragon rune glowed. A blazing fire dragon devoured more than a dozen undead creatures. The silver-haired spirit medium then raised his left hand, unleashing a vortex of destruction that dragged a night mech-sized undead monster into the created rift. After Ning Lu and his two companions cleared all the half-mechanical, half-flesh undead monsters, he gave orders for the archaeologist to lead the tech sergeants in excavating the ruins and dismantling the machine equipment. The Death Lord led the team responsible for guarding, and he left Arsena and the brain cat John behind, taking only the Black Wolf Freddy to the alien ruins. The mountain where the alien ruins were located quickly appeared in Ning Lu's sight, and he slowed his pace. Ning Lu's eyes were deep as he looked towards the mountain. Moments later, his eyes returned to normal. Open black lens bracket. The power inside has nothing to do with the warp. Close black lens bracket. His psychic vision range could not yet reach the mountain 5 kilometers away, and extending his consciousness might trigger unpredictable changes. The Gene Seed Primarch looked around again but saw no lava lake or any landmark named Medusa. Open black lens bracket. True, if this place were conspicuous, Ferrus Manus should have discovered it long ago. Close black lens bracket. The Gene Seed Primarch, having found nothing, continued forward. Ning Lu ascended this mountain. From the outside, the mountain beneath his feet had nothing special about it. It couldn't even be called black snow. The Gene Seed Primarch, however, keenly sensed a slight anomaly. The temperature of this mountain was a few degrees higher than that of the snowless mountains. Moreover, as he walked deeper into the mountain, the temperature slowly rose. Drops of sweat occasionally fell from Freddy's body. Ning Lu arrived deep within the mountain range. The bronze gate of the ruins was open, and golden parts were scattered sparsely on the black marble passage. Some were sharp in shape, others were broken claws. They were all parts of a golden mechanical eagle's body. The Gene Seed Primarch stopped before the gate. A drop of sweat fell, and after a moment of inspection, he thought to himself. Open black lens bracket. The black marble has no special energy, it's not blackstone. But there are no traces of mutants here. Those crazy people, if they had been here, there would definitely be traces. Is it simply because the temperature is high that no mutants come here? Close black lens bracket. As Ning Lu pondered, he stepped inside. He discovered that inside the ruins, the exposed rock layers shimmered with a metallic luster, like a giant mirror. After walking about a kilometer, the passage widened, and a circular platform appeared before him. There were many stone bases on the platform, but most of the golden mechanical eagles placed on them had already been moved, with only one in the center remaining there. It's so hot, Freddy whispered, a puddle of sweat forming beneath him after just standing for a moment. Ning Lu felt that the temperature here was nearly 40 degrees Celsius. The Gene Seed Primarch surveyed his surroundings. All around the platform were rock layers shimmering with metallic luster, as if this ruin only contained the circular platform, solely for storing the golden mechanical eagles. The Gene Seed Primarch then began to study the circular platform beneath his feet. A few seconds later, his pupils contracted. The Gene Seed Primarch discovered that numerous runes were engraved on the platform. These runes were in different forms but shared one commonality. Each rune was outlined with red, thread-like material. Their forms were all related to burning flames. There were linear radiating shapes, like flames spewing from a flamethrower. And torch shapes. Ning Lu pondered, gazing at the ground. The Gene Seed Primarch's brain spun rapidly, dissecting each rune and committing it to memory. After memorizing all the runes, he walked to the center of the platform, to the only remaining golden mechanical eagle. The golden mechanical eagle was nearly 10 meters tall. Its wings were spread, lifelike, as if about to take flight. The Gene Seed Primarch extended his right hand and placed it on the eagle. The temperature was nearly 100 degrees Celsius. Ning Lu's black eyes sparkled. he discovered that red runes were engraved on the golden mechanical eagle. The Gene Seed Primarch examined them carefully and found that all these runes could be found on the ground. Immediately, all the runes on the ground, along with their corresponding positions, appeared in his mind. The Gene Seed Primarch noticed that the runes on the ground could outline a majestic eagle with spread wings. A flash of inspiration struck Ning Lu. He then examined the mechanical eagle before him and indeed found that when the platform's runes were scaled down proportionally, they matched the runes on the mechanical eagle's body. The Gene Seed Primarch slightly bent his knees, leapt up, and touched the only rune on the mechanical eagle's head with his right index finger. He moved continuously, lightly tapping the golden mechanical eagle with his index finger, each touch landing on a rune. Moments later, all the runes lit up. The golden mechanical eagle emitted dazzling golden and fiery red light. The platform rumbled, and the golden mechanical eagle slowly rose. Its standing position revealed a spiral downward passage. Ning Lu looked at the passage, his thoughts wandering. Open black lens bracket him. Perhaps the technicians discovered the connection between the runes and the golden mechanical eagle, which is why they didn't move it. However, due to certain circumstances, the research was forced to stop. Perhaps they were attacked and killed by hostile forces. The parts of Garuda they replicated were taken away by hostile forces and disseminated among the clans of Medusa. Close black lens bracket. Ning Lu reined in his thoughts and turned his gaze to the passage below. He keenly sensed that as the passage opened, heat surged upwards. The passage seemed to lead to the Earth's core. Ning Lu activated subspace insight, and then psychic vision to observe, but found nothing. He stepped onto the black staircase and began to descend. Ning Lu observed his surroundings carefully. He noticed that the diameter of the spiral staircase was getting wider and wider. After walking dozens of steps, a platform unfolded before him, with a golden mechanical eagle about 1 meter tall standing on it. He continued to descend, passing layer after layer of platforms, like walking down the edge of a pyramid. The mechanical eagles on the platforms grew more numerous and larger. But he still hadn't encountered the space necrons he expected to find sleeping. As Ning Lu stepped onto the 10th level, he suddenly felt the ground tremble beneath his feet. The Gene Seed Primarch keenly sensed that a powerful creature below was struggling. Drops of sweat trickled from his forehead. He tightened his grip on Val's sword and continued to descend. Ning Lu followed the spiral passage down to the next level. He found that it was as if he had entered a new world. With just one step, his surroundings changed. On the rock walls of the passage, cracks like a spiderweb were arranged, and molten fire flowed within them. The Gene Seed Primarch felt threatened by that molten flow. He had no doubt that if he didn't carry magical items like rings, his body would be carbonized if he remained in the molten flow for a long time. Open black lens bracket carbonization, close black lens bracket. When this thought arose, he recalled Ferrus Manus's carbonized arm after falling into lava when he killed a Semos, who was suspected to be a void dragon shard. Ning Lu felt the trembling beneath his feet intensify. He stepped forward and continued to descend. A few steps later, he saw a golden mechanical eagle. It was several kilometers tall, with a wingspan exceeding 10 kilometers. Its body was covered with cables, and alien machines of various sizes were densely packed around it. The golden eagle's eyes glowed with fiery red light, looking at Ning Lu. Ning Lu met the fiery red eyes and felt destructive energy emanating from them. He also saw dazzling spiritual brilliance on the golden eagle's body. Star God Shard. A flash of inspiration struck Ning Lu's mind. Open black lens bracket. The space necrons built the pyramid not as a tomb, but to bind the Star God Shard. Those runes served to extract energy from the Star God Shard and then transmit it upwards, layer by layer. Close black lens bracket. Upon realizing this, Ning Lu suddenly understood. Open black lens bracket. After those mechanical eagles were moved, the Star God seal weakened, and the Star God Shard's power overflowed, affecting the lava lake. The Void Dragon Shard, the Silver Dragon Asimos, was trapped inside by Ferrus Manus and couldn't escape. And I just unsealed the mechanical eagle runes on the platform. The Star God Shard is about to break free. Close black lens bracket. As he pondered, the entire underground space violently shook. Amidst the earth-shaking tremors, lava erupted. The Burning One, Ning Lu leapt towards the golden mechanical eagle, intending to kill it before the star god shard could fully escape. The Gene Seed Primarch donned his war mask, jumped onto the golden mechanical eagle's back, and with Val's sword shining with blue and white light, he struck at the base of its right wing. A power fist glowed with golden light, slamming into the golden mechanical eagle's back. Insect. Damn it. The golden mechanical eagle had not yet broken free from its restraints, but by manipulating the laws of physics, it made an explosive sound resonate in the Gene Seed Primarch's mind. The sound echoed in his mind, its aftershocks directly striking his soul and even spreading to his spirit. Since the soul and spirit depend on the physical body for existence, Ning Lu's body, being attacked by the laws of physics, was inevitably affected. Within the hurricane-like sound waves, there was power capable of burning the heavens and destroying the earth. The Gene Seed Primarch felt as if his body was engulfed in flames. He instantly ascended to the second layer of his mental state, and his body's energy was immediately transformed into psychic power. The Gene Seed Primarch's spine erupted with bright flames, entering Kundalini, as his spirit and the ocean of his mind vibrated. The power of the star god shard was expelled from the non-physical realm but still echoed in the Gene Seed Primarch's brain. It was as if firecrackers were crackling in the Gene Seed Primarch's head. The intense pain did not affect the Gene Seed Primarch's movements. His power fists rained down blows, and Val's sword spun like a windmill, striking down. With a loud bang, a golden decomposition field tore through the living metal, creating a crack on the golden mechanical eagle's back. Amidst a harsh clatter, Val's sword cut open another crack. Just as Ning Lu was about to continue his attack, a sharp shriek rang out. The golden mechanical eagle moved, its wings flapping, stirring up monstrous heat waves. It exerted force with its talons, and the rock layers beneath its feet cracked. The golden mechanical eagle slowly flew up, the pipelines on its body crackling, and the space Necron's equipment flashed with dazzling red light. The star god shard's neck bulged, and it suddenly opened its mouth, spewing forth a torrent of molten flames. All equipment was incinerated to ash in an instant. The golden mechanical eagle broke free from its restraints, let out an excited cry, and flapped its wings, soaring into the air. Ning Lu said to Freddy, "Pull him into a dream." Freddy looked at the golden mechanical eagle, sensing destructive power from the flames it spewed. He knew that even he, possessing a body far surpassing a Fenris wolf, would be incinerated to ash if enveloped by the golden mechanical eagle's flames. Freddy knew that to deal with such a powerful creature, he had to enter his mythical creature form. 2 pairs of legs instantly grew from the black wolf's abdomen, and surging power lifted its body as its 8 legs cut through the sky, creating ripples. Amidst rising black mist, eternal darkness enveloped the golden mechanical eagle. The song of peace gently sways. Humming a soothing lullaby. Afraid to step on the sleeping chrysalis in the swaddle. In the deep folds of eternal night. All things are silent. The star god shard's mind paused, its fiery red eyes growing dimmer and dimmer, and its golden mechanical wings seemed to be pulled, their flapping speed slowing down. The Gene Seed Primarch, being in the second layer of Telema's mental state and well prepared, did not slow his attack in the slightest. Each strike precisely hit the previously created wounds. The crack on the golden mechanical eagle's back grew larger and larger, from the size of a human fist to the size of a head, then to half its body. At the base of its golden right wing, the crack widened from the width of a human palm to the width of a forearm, then to the width of a thigh. As Ning Lu attacked wildly, golden and fiery red flames suddenly erupted. The black mist was evaporated in an instant, and the 8-legged black wolf was scorched all over. Freddy let out a mournful cry. He could not maintain his mythical creature form and tumbled to the ground. Ning Lu's vision was filled with golden and fiery red, and his body was engulfed in flames. The runes on his black armor hummed, and the Gene Seed Primarch did not slow the rhythm of his attack. The bloody chain wrapped around his right little finger seeped energy, making him feel cool despite being roasted all over. The Gene Seed Primarch, wearing the war mask, launched a furious assault, yet his brain remained calm. He had confirmed that the golden mechanical eagle was the Burning One, a shard of Nyadrazatha. The flames surrounding the Burning One were hotter than a stellar core, the ultimate manifestation of fire in the physical world. Mountains exploded, and rocks were burned to ash. The golden mechanical eagle flew higher and higher, and Ning Lu, engulfed in flames, attacked without pause. The Medusans watched in astonishment as the gray cloud layer that had covered the entire planet for thousands of years lit up for the third time. This time, unlike the previous two, the sun hung suspended in the sky. On the surface of Medusa, Ferris Manus, who had just emerged from the ruins, looked up at the sky, his silver coin-like eyes gazing upwards. He felt something within the fireball, and his silver coin-like eyes instantly liquefied, slowly flowing. Golden mechanical eagle. Manus's leaden voice rang out. He instantly thought of Garuda. The golden mechanical eagle's form was proportionally magnified like Garuda, but its body color was different. The biggest difference was the flames enveloping the golden mechanical eagle. The Gene Seed Primarch felt a familiar aura from them, similar to the lava lake but even more explosive. What? Gabriel Santo exclaimed in surprise. He found Garuda's ruins. He found them, but he also put himself in danger. Santo heard complex emotions in Gorgon's leaden voice. Those flames are more dangerous than the lava lake that killed Asinos. Even I might not survive it. Even if I escaped, I would be severely wounded. Upon hearing this, Santo couldn't help but recall how he had once led a 10-meter-tall ancient mechanical monster into the lava lake. The powerful mechanical monster vanished from this world in an instant, as if it had never existed. His armor is melting from the flames, even though it was made by an excellent craftsman. At the same moment, on the peak of the Black Mountain, Alfarius said in surprise. Is Ning Lu in there? Father, only you can help him. The Lord of Mankind's eyes shone with golden light. Ning Lu is not yet injured. I want to see how far he can go. The mechanical eagle has not yet recovered its full strength and is severely wounded. If Ning Lu can kill him, he will gain powerful strength. Perhaps even more powerful than Manus's iron hand. The Emperor thought to himself. Open black lens bracket. There are only 100 void dragon shards. His shards are stronger than most star gods. Manus only gained a portion of the power. This Burning One shard is very large. He is only slightly weaker than the largest void dragon shard I subdued in my early years. If he recovers his full strength, Ning Lu will have no chance. But he has not yet recovered. If Ning Lu gains powerful strength, I will give him Jushin's spear, close black lens bracket. As the Emperor pondered, his golden eyes remained fixed on the scorching fireball in the sky. His eyes narrowed. Ning Lu was injured. Most of his hair was burned away, and his body was ablaze with flames, burning him to the bone. Ning Lu indeed felt himself approaching his limit, carried into the air by the golden mechanical eagle. To avoid exposure, he could not use magical items like rings and could only rely on the recovery ability of the bloody chain to sustain himself. With his armor incinerated by the Burning One's flames, his consumption increased even further. Open black lens bracket. I cannot retreat into the disordered country. That would expose my biggest trump card. Close black lens bracket. As Ning Lu attacked madly, his mind raced, contemplating how to deal with the Burning One, Nyadrazatha, without using extraordinary abilities or divine artifacts. Open black lens bracket. To end the battle quickly, I need to strike at his weakness. My warp vision is useless against a star god. I cannot discover his weakness through this talent. Weakness, war in heaven, old ones, Aeldari, close black lens bracket. A flash of inspiration struck Ning Lu's mind. Psychic abilities were not strictly a star god's weakness, but they did have a special effect against the embodiment of the physical world's rules. During the war in heaven, star gods suffered losses when they encountered the old ones. Huang Laohan also used psychic abilities to suppress the Void Dragon Shard. Open black lens bracket. But the psychic abilities I possess won't be very effective against a star god. I obtained 2 complete paths from the mind of the Aeldari Season, Slaughter. The Fire Dragon path would help the Burning One recover, but the Howling Banshee path is different. Close black lens bracket. Ning Lu removed his war mask and put on a Howling mask. The Howling mask was an ability he developed based on his own situation, a preliminary adaptive adjustment to the Howling Banshee path. The current Howling mask requires the use of psychic energy to be effective and cannot yet be extended to all Order shadows, but it is perfectly suited for dealing with a star god. Light and shadow flickered in the Gene-Seed Primarch's eyes as vast warp energy gathered. He suddenly opened his mouth and aimed a piercing shriek at the tear in the star god's back, where the disintegrating force field had ripped it open. Although Ning Lu did not wear the special mask, the Banshee mask, worn by howling banshees to amplify psychic sound waves, the piercing shriek he emitted far surpassed that of a banshee. The Gene-Seed Primarch's powerful psychic energy made his psychic shriek even stronger than Slotta's, and even stronger than the Bishop of the Branch Shrine. It was close to the shriek emitted by Jane Zur, the founder of the Howling Banshee branch and Phoenix Lord. The psychic shriek spiraled into the tear, and the sound waves echoed within the golden mechanical eagle's body. The piercing shriek echoed in the Burning One's ears, plunging him into agonizing torment. Fear triggered painful memories, making him recall the painful memory of being shattered into fragments by the Silent King's spear. The already heavily wounded Burning One fell into a state of confusion due to the continuous shrieking. The flames lost control, raging wildly. Wearing the Howling Mask, Ning Lu's attacks became even more ferocious. Val's sword, like a whirlwind, tore through the golden right wing. The golden mechanical eagle lost balance and spun downwards, like a kite with a broken string. Ning Lu seized the opportunity, swinging his left arm forcefully, striking a hammer blow at the golden mechanical eagle's back. He used the momentum to leap, intending to pounce on the left wing. But as soon as he leapt, a fireball struck him head-on. With a bang, Ning Lu was knocked down by the flames and fell into the metallic mechanical eagle's body. The Gene-Seed Primarch felt as if he had fallen into a world of fire, his entire body enveloped by pure flame energy. That was fire hotter than the inside of a star. Star God energy. Some space Necrons tech priests called it Star God essence. The Gene-Seed Primarch did not panic. He calmly landed on the golden living metal, minimizing the flames surrounding his body. Then, he identified his position, finding himself quite far from the tear in the back. He swiftly moved along the golden living metal, continuously attacking. The torn liquefied metal, carrying golden and fiery red star god essence, splashed onto the Gene-Seed Primarch's body. Specks of metallic spots appeared on the Gene-Seed Primarch's body. The Gene-Seed Primarch suddenly stopped attacking. He clearly sensed that the Star God Shard had been killed. Before he could rush out of the tear, a blazing fireball plunged straight down. The Medusan people watched in astonishment as the sun, which had just risen in the sky, fell. Tens of thousands of people knelt in terror, reciting that the end of days had come, praying for Gorgon's protection. The blazing fireball crashed into the lava lake, raising fire waves several kilometers high. The Gene-Seed Primarch felt his body enveloped by golden liquid metal and golden and fiery red flames. He struggled to break free from the cage that enveloped him, but the star god essence and living metal tightly wrapped around his body. The Emperor and Alfarius, along with Ferrus Manus, arrived at the lava lake simultaneously from two different directions. The Emperor's golden eyes flickered, his gaze penetrating through layers of lava. Seconds later, the golden light in his eyes faded, and he smiled at Manus, saying, "Ning Lu, your brother, will gain the same strength as your iron hands." Ferrus Manus's silver liquid eyes returned to the shape of silver coins. "I lost." The golden mechanical eagle killed by Ning Lu possessed the same power as the silver giant dragon Asimos he had killed. This Gene-Seed brother of his possessed strength comparable to his own. Alfarius's gaze could not penetrate the lava. He stared curiously at the lava lake. In the lava lake, Ning Lu felt the golden liquid enveloping and burning his body. His muscles, bones, and blood were torn apart, with the pain in his back being particularly noticeable. The Gene Seed Primarch felt the burning one-star god essence burning his body, his back completely incinerated, and his sternum and shoulder blades melted. The blood-colored chains in his psychic vision were dim, clearly at their limit, temporarily unable to aid his body's recovery. Ning Lu sighed inwardly. Self-preservation was ultimately more important. Even if Huang Laohan was watching him and it would expose the disordered country, he had no other choice now. He was about to retreat to the disordered country, to hide when suddenly a thought struck him. The Gene Seed Primarch felt something growing on his chest and back. He activated his warp vision, and looked down at himself from a higher perspective. The Gene Seed Primarch discovered that the burning one-star god essence and golden living metal had mixed together, forming a strange substance. These substances were reconstructing parts of his body. Ning Lu immediately thought of how Ferrus Manus's carbonized arm reconstructed after silver liquid splashed onto it when he killed the Void Dragon shard. He could now confirm that the silver giant dragon Asimos was a shard of the Void Dragon. Thinking of this, the Gene Seed Primarch gave up on escaping to the disordered country, and observed his body's reconstruction. Within seconds, his sternum and shoulder blades had been reconstructed, and his flesh and blood grew rapidly. After more than 10 seconds, the Gene Seed Primarch's body was enveloped by golden liquid. The liquid solidified, and his body was covered with a layer of golden metal, as if he were wearing a form-fitting golden armor. The final transformation was completed a minute later, and Ning Lu murmured in surprise. "I grew a pair of wings, golden wings on my back." Ning Lu couldn't help but think of Sanguinius, secretly thinking, "Open black lens bracket having wings on my back is an advantage in combat, close black lens bracket." He also thought, "Open black lens bracket Manus can concentrate the silver metal on his hands, or spread it to cover his entire arm. I should be able to do the same, close black lens bracket." With a thought, the metal on Ning Lu's waist instantly liquefied and flowed to the golden wings on his back. The lava burned his exposed skin at the waist, but the Gene Seed Primarch felt no burning sensation at all. Ning Lu thought to himself, "Open black lens bracket after Manus obtained part of the Void Dragon shard's essence, he can be considered the most physically powerful, with his arms being the most typical representation. As for me, I received more star god essence, and the extent of the change is greater. I received the burning one-star god essence. Its complete form burns with flames hotter than the inside of a star, so bathing in lava is no different from soaking in a hot spring for me, close black lens bracket." Ning Lu had another thought, attempting to make the golden wings on his back flow to other places. A moment later, however, the wings remained unchanged. He couldn't help but inwardly grumble, "Open black lens bracket Manus's hands are always covered in silver metal, while I have golden wings on my back. Is it the golden mechanical eagle's obsession, close black lens bracket?" Ning Lu then recalled that after Manus obtained his iron hands, his forging and inventing abilities became even stronger. "Open black lens bracket I obtained the burning one's shard, and I even saw spiritual radiance on it. It should be the main material for a high sequence of the Red Priest pathway. I will definitely gain fire-related abilities. However, now is not the right time for research, close black lens bracket." With a thought, the liquid metal recovered his waist. The black armor custom made for him by tech priest Malavalis had been incinerated by the flames. Not wanting to be an exhibitionist, he needed golden armor. The golden wings on Ning Lu's back fluttered, and his body shot up rapidly, its speed astonishing even the Gene Seed Primarch. "Open black lens bracket wings formed from star god essence, truly excellent, close black lens bracket." As he pondered, he had already leapt out of the lava lake. As lava splashed everywhere, the Emperor and the others saw a golden angel fly out of the lake, circling in the air. Cooperating with Ferrus Manus, Gabriel Santo, who had rushed over in his ironclad vehicle, was startled when he saw the golden angel in the sky. Stunned, he kept his foot on the accelerator. The ironclad vehicle sped towards the lava lake, and Santos heard Gorgon's leaden shout in his ear. "Brake!" Santos finally snapped out of it and quickly hit the brakes. The ironclad vehicle roared to a halt, kicking up a cloud of dust. When the ironclad vehicle stopped, it was only a few meters from the magma lake. Santos opened the car door and, as he got out, stared blankly at the golden angel in the sky. An angel. Santos struggled to control himself, warning himself in his mind. Besides Gorgon, I will not kneel to anyone else. Never. Alfarius looked at Ning Lu in the sky with astonishment. Unlike Santo, he could tell that the golden figure in the sky was Ning Lu. After his father said Ning Lu would change, a million images flashed through his mind, but he never expected Ning Lu to transform into a golden angel. Ferrus Manus's silver eyes pierced through the magma, and he was not particularly surprised by Ning Lu's transformation. He habitually examined the golden armor and wings from the perspective of a forger. His silver eyes gleamed, and he gave his evaluation in his mind. Its defense is weaker than my iron hands, but it has its unique aspects. The wings make his speed incredibly fast. The Emperor's golden eyes shone as he watched Ning Lu with a smile. Even better than I expected. Ning Lu manipulated the wings on his back, slowly descending. The golden liquid on his face flowed away, revealing his original appearance. My pet, Freddy, fell into the volcano. I'll go find him first. Afterward, I'll evaluate the value of the ruins I found. Seeing Huang Laohan nod, Ning Lu flapped his wings and flew towards the space Necron's ruins that had originally bound the Burning One shard. The airflow swept past him, and he instantly arrived at the collapsed space Necron's ruins. Ning Lu activated his warp vision, and immediately discovered the black ripples shining from the black wolf in the Sea of Souls. Fortunately, Freddy is very weak, but he's still alive. It's a good thing Freddy is okay, otherwise, even if I gained golden wings, losing the mythical creature that can pull people into dreams would make it hard to say if my combat power increased. If I can find the extraordinary characteristics of the deceased, once my subordinates have extraordinary beings capable of crafting sequence 4 magical items, I can again possess the auxiliary ability of pulling people into dreams. Pulling people into dreams is a practical auxiliary ability. Without Freddy pulling the Burning One into a dream, allowing Ning Lu to seize the opportunity to damage the Star God Shard, relying solely on the Howling Mask would not have been enough to kill the Burning One's shard. Besides temporarily losing the dream-pulling auxiliary ability, Freddy also looks quite pleasing to the eye. He is a satisfying pet. As Ning Lu pondered, his wings vibrated, and he crashed into the ruins. After some effort, he was able to initially control his wings with precision. The golden wings pushed aside the rubble, and Ning Lu flew underground. He found Freddy, whose fur was scorched black and whose steps were weak. Freddy's eyes widened in surprise when he saw Ning Lu in his golden angel form. There was a close connection between him and Ning Lu, allowing him to confirm that he was indeed Ning Lu. Master, how did you become like this? The immense change was even greater than when he activated his mythical creature form and grew 2 pairs of black legs from his belly. You'll know. As Ning Lu spoke, he flew down, grasping the black wolf in his right hand. Freddy comfortably lay in Ning Lu's hand, no longer thinking about the metallic mechanical eagle or Ning Lu's transformation. He was too weak, and lying in the large hand that made him feel safe, he fell asleep peacefully. Ning Lu did not fly away immediately. He hovered in the ruins, using the gauntlet on his left hand to push aside the debris. He found that the golden mechanical eagles were rarely damaged. The materials used by the space Necrons made their bodies exceptionally tough. Ning Lu recalled Garuda of Broden of the Iron Hands in the future, shattered legions. It was like the crew of the Sisypheum, tormented but unyielding. It was not completely destroyed by a round of bolter fire from Lucius in Idris, and Iron Father Samatika and Sabak Wayland repaired it. Garuda can fly and has strong observation capabilities, unlike spy flies that require psychic activation. Moreover, its abilities in mechanics and electronics are comparable to those of an ordinary tech priest, allowing for some related operations from a distance. It's a practical electronic pet, especially suitable for tech sergeants. As the original version of Garuda, a creation of the space Necrons, these golden mechanical eagles may have more functions and are worth studying. Noble Ghost and his group couldn't figure it out, but my tech sergeants might be able to, and I can also enhance their extraordinary abilities. Ning Lu was about to instinctively press the communication bead in his ear, then stopped. His communication bead had been burned to ashes by the Burning One's flames. He flapped his wings and flew up, secretly thinking to himself. Although I took a risk and almost exposed the nation of disorder, the final result is still pretty good. The lost armor can be reforged, in exchange for wings containing most of the star god essence from the Burning One shard. This is also a small lesson. Before coming to Medusa, I only guessed that Asimos was a Void Dragon shard, and I didn't know there was another Burning One shard in this place. As Ning Lu reviewed this adventure, he also thought. The crucial point was that I didn't anticipate being pulled into the air, making me unable to use my extraordinary abilities and magical item trump cards. Monster, John can only be considered to have just entered the domain of destiny, he didn't give me any warning of danger. As Ning Lu pondered, he flew above the ancient ruins. Looking down, he saw a heavy landing craft docked 2 kilometers from Mount McKenna's black snow, with servants and servitors moving items from the ruins under the direction of the tech sergeants. The Order shadows saw the golden angel in the sky and gripped their weapons warily. They then saw the Gene Father's face and felt a familiar aura from that figure. The Order shadows watched in surprise as the Gene Father slowly descended, involuntarily thinking of the fireball they had seen in the sky earlier. Ning Lu briefly recounted his experience to Adams and Arsena Dunn, who had rushed over, then ordered the tech sergeants to take a team to excavate the ruins. 2 standard hours later, Ning Lu flew to the ruins excavated by Manus. He looked down and found that the Medusan's ironclad vehicle had no mechanical equipment on it. After landing, Ning Lu, along with the Emperor and Alpharius, followed Manus into the remains of the giant manufacturing plant. The Medusans looked with awe at the slowly descending golden angel. Having been warned by Santo, they were already prepared. But witnessing the golden angel's descent, they were still so shocked that they stopped what they were doing, until Gorgon's leaden voice rang out. Continue working. Ning Lu saw the Iron Fathers continue their research and thought to himself. Ferris has trained the Iron Fathers very well. My tech sergeants, before advancing to high sequences, were still inferior to the Iron Hands in this aspect, only having some unique features. Ning Lu then looked at the wall made of data equipment. He saw a seat surrounded by cables, embedded in a damaged niche. He pondered for a moment before connecting it to the mimic chamber in his memory. The Iron Hands must have developed the mimic chamber based on this damaged machine. When an Iron Hand connects and sits in this device, the neural interface directly connected to their spine will link them to the data ocean, allowing them to download and upload vast amounts of data at any time. In the virtual thought space, Battle Brothers can use the device to simulate artificial combat scenarios in their minds, and also conduct highly efficient mission briefings or data transfers. Ning Lu looked at the damaged niche, but what appeared in his mind was a complete, undamaged data niche, and he thought to himself. The Iron Hands also implant subconscious tactical protocols into their brains. These protocols can be uploaded to the minds of every Iron Hand battle brother as contingency plans for any unexpected situation. Based on their powerful computing capabilities, they can simulate most combat situations. The Glasgow's Clan Company makes the most extensive use of the Mimic Chamber among the Iron Hands. All their mission briefings and information, even war councils, are conducted purely through mimic communication. As Ning Lu pondered, Manus's leaden voice rang out. I lost. The golden armor on you and the wings on your back indicate that you have found the origin of Garuda. Together, they are worth more than the ruins I found. You won this contest. Gorgon's voice was as cold and hard as ever, but the Medusans felt unwilling and angry. They thought that since Gorgon had lost to the Golden Angel, another demigod, they could accept this result. No. Ning Luo's negative words surprised everyone. He flapped his wings slightly. A part of my body doesn't count as a discovery. In the ruins I found, I discovered a punishment class reactor and an auto-recharging void shield. Their value is equivalent to the data and simulation equipment you found. Manus looked at Ning Lu in surprise. He hadn't inspected the equipment but could state its function. He heard Ning Lu continue, "This contest between us is a draw. We jointly own the two ruins and will cooperate in our research." Ning Lu believed that his tech sergeants could benefit from cooperating with the Iron Fathers, the future Iron Hands. Hearing this, the Emperor's face was full of smiles. The relationship between Ning Lu and Manus was much better than his and Russ's. He laughed and said, "I am happy for the cooperation between you brothers." A hint of softness appeared in Manus's silver coin-like eyes. "I am willing to develop the two ruins with you, and I welcome your sons to cooperate with the Medusans." He looked at the golden armor on Ning Lu. "Although you possess golden armor, I think you still need a new suit of armor. I will forge a suit of armor worthy of you. The foremost under the Primarchs in the early Great Crusade." After Ning Lu reached an agreement with Ferris Manus to cooperate on development, he returned to the ancient ruins and found Gabriel. "I have decided to send you to lead some tech sergeants to stay on Medusa, and then follow the 10th Legion's operations. There are things worth learning from them." "Understood, Father," Gabriel said. 3 hours later, a transport ship from the Worthy Shadow delivered the armor he originally wore from the Primarch's private armory. He had kept it as a memento. The armor Wojciech Belik had crafted for him was incomparable to that of the top chief forgemaster Malavalis, but it was fine for temporary wear. Ning Lu controlled the Golden Garuda, a mix of star god essence and living metal from other parts of his body, flowing into the golden wings on his back. Subsequently, Gabriel used the mechanical arm on his back to adjust the armor for him, allowing the wings to move freely. Ning Lu then went to the location where Manus was holding the clan assembly, to attend the celebration of his declaration of return to the Imperium and his allegiance to Huang Laohan to the Medusan people. He did not fly there at top speed, his wings were folded, and he took Gabriel and Arsena Dun on a stormbird. As the gunship flew to the clan assembly site, Gabriel looked down at the dense, endless array of iron vehicles and exclaimed with emotion. The Medusan iron vehicles are at least 100 meters long, even the smallest ones. Their families, mechanical equipment, and daily necessities are all stored inside. They are nomadic tribes who drive iron vehicles. The student of ratiocination's blue eyes looked down, deep and profound. Medusa's sky is in eternal darkness due to pollution, and the planet's geological structure is very unstable, with earthquakes and volcanic eruptions constantly creating and destroying mountains and oceans. This world reminds me of Fenris. Without a doubt, Medusa should also be classified as a death world according to the Administratum's classification standards. With his silver hair flowing, the original body servant said with a puzzled expression. "What I don't understand is that Lord Manus is called Gorgon by the clans and treated as a demigod. He could end the disputes and bring the entire world under a unified government, but he hasn't done so. His approach is different from that of other gene seed Primarchs." Ning Lu spoke, clarifying for the original body servant. "This is Manus's philosophy. He believes that limited competition is beneficial to overall development. This is the result of his calculations, and the people sacrificed in this process are an acceptable price. Most of the time, the decisions he makes after calculation yield the best results." Manus threw the Storm Walker to Medusa for reshaping. The common Terran and native conflicts seen in other legions were integrated under his thunderous methods. This was different from Ning Lu sending lawyers and arbitrators to the Moon Training and Transformation Center, where changes began from recruit training, but the idea was the same. They all used the Legion's homeworld culture to change the mindset of Terran recruits. The final effect was the same, only a very small number of people still held their old beliefs, but they were all loyal to the Legion and loyal to the Gene Seed Primarch. The cold exterior is just Manus's surface, a fiery side is hidden within him. Gabriel, you will see in the future 10th Legion that Manus will treat his descendants with an almost strict attitude, but he will also protect his descendants in any situation. This is also something you need to pay attention to. When you communicate with them in the 10th Legion, you must maintain respect and learn the mysteries of mechanics and calculation from them. Father, I understand, Gabriel noted his Gene Father's reminder. Gabriel had no doubt about his Gene Father's words. He believed his Gene Father's attitude towards protecting his descendants was the same as Manus's. The Stormbird slowly landed, and Ning Lu walked towards Manus's iron vehicle. Lord Ning Lu, Gabriel Santo, who was waiting, said respectfully in the high Gothic he had just learned. After Ning Lu smiled in acknowledgement, he opened the door. With the hiss of steam and a dry wave of heat, the entrance to the iron forge opened. Ning Lu stepped inside and saw a relief occupying the entire opposite wall, depicting a hammer striking an anvil, with cracks from the impact outlined by silver veins. On one side of the door were Garuda and other mythical creatures of Medusa. Santos led the way to a door made of shimmering diorite, white marble, and steel. After the guards at the door respectfully saluted, they opened the door. After Ning Lu entered the door, he saw Manus standing in the iron hall in front of his personal banner. It was a work created with velvet and a large amount of silver, depicting him defeating a silver dragon named Asinos. The imperial Aquila banner stood in the center, Alpharius stood beside the banner, and in front of him, the emperor stood in the center. Ning Lu also saw on the left side of the high platform a banner forged with velvet and gold, depicting him slaying Garuda. The banner's imagery was lifelike, clearly from Manus's hand. Among the Medusans, only his silver eyes could penetrate the flames of the burning one. Manus looked at Ning Lu, and his coin-like eyes instantly liquefied. In an instant, he recorded Ning Lu's body data in his mind, to be used for forging armor. Ning Lu ascended the high platform and stood in front of his banner. He saw that Azek Ahriman and his brother Ormuzd Ahriman, and his good friend Apophis, were also attending the celebration as representatives of the 15th Legion. Manus looked down at the representatives of the various clans below, and his leaden voice rang out. Warriors of the Medusan clans, today we gather here to usher in a new era. My father, the Lord of Mankind, has descended since the long night. The forge roared, and flames blazed. I, Ferus Manus, in the name of my iron hands, with the forge and flames as my witness, pledge eternal service to the Emperor. The members of the Medusan clans, led by Gabriel Santo, knelt on the ground. We follow Gorgon, eternally serving the Emperor, with the forge and flames as our witness. The Emperor smiled. I accept your fealty, rise. After the banquet began, Manus said to Ning Lu. The banner was made by me for you, recording the scene of you slaying the golden Garuda. Ning Lu was not surprised at all. Manus had a cold exterior but a fiery heart. Many of the weapons he forged were given as gifts to other Gene Seed Primarchs, not just Fulgrim, with whom he was close. Manus, it is a work of art, thank you. I will take it back to my palace and hang it in the highest place. He motioned for Gabriel to step forward and introduced him to Manus. My descendant, Gabriel, only my chief forgemaster, Rozicki Czech, is more excellent than him in mechanical abilities. Gabriel stepped forward and said respectfully. Gorgon of Medusa, Gabriel salutes you. Manus looked at Ning Lu's descendant before him, seeing the servo arms on his back and the chainsaw and various tools combined on them. They were all finely forged, their craftsmanship no less than the tools crafted by the Iron Fathers he had carefully trained. Gabriel, you are an excellent craftsman, and you will be welcomed in my legion. On the 10th stellar day after the Medusan celebration ended, the 10th Legion's Stormwalker fleet arrived at Medusa. Ning Lu accompanied Huang Laohan back to his flagship, Bucephalus. The Emperor's flagship held a grand welcome ceremony for yet another Gene Seed Primarch. The scribes did not receive permission to travel by ship through Medusa's dangerous outer ring. They stood among the welcoming crowd, diligently recording. 822. M30, the Emperor, accompanied by Gene Seed Primarch Ning Lu, recovered the 10th Primarch. The King of Vostronia, representing the Lord of Mankind, competed with the Gorgon of Medusa in excavating ancient ruins. The two Gene Seed Primarchs ultimately excavated ancient ruins of similar value, and in the name of the Emperor, they cooperated in their development. Ning Lu stood with the Emperor on the circular viewing gallery surrounding the restaurant's dome. Ning Lu looked down. The Medusans were seated in the restaurant, unlike the unrestrained and boisterous wild wolves. They sat meticulously, scrutinizing everything around them. The Emperor's eyes flickered, and he spoke. General Amadeus Dukine has arrived. He pioneered the Storm and Warhammer tactic, and I believe it will become a valuable military asset to the Imperium. Ning Lu looked down. It was his first time seeing Dukine, who he remembered as the foremost under the Primarchs in the early Great Crusade. Dukine wore thick Mki thunder pattern power armor, covered with litanies of regiment and battle. Platinum etchings on his towering helmet's cheek guards bore the proud emblem of the Eye of Horus. Ning Lu knew that Dukine, a Terran from Albia, after thousands of battles, finally pioneered the Imperium's classic tactic, Storm and Warhammer, during the Rust Star campaign. He kept the Storm Walkers stationary, personally led the auxiliary army as the anvil to stir up a storm, waiting for all the orcs to pour out. Dukine's forces resisted attacks in the Green Tide with Iron Will until the last green skin charged out of the fortress and was sufficiently dispersed, only then striking with the Storm Walkers as the hammer. The 10th Legion's limited armor and aerial forces instantly dispersed the orc forces, completing this campaign with only minor casualties. They supported other battlefields, earning the respect of many legions. The 4th and 13th Legion spontaneously learned from them. Huang Laohan himself, after that, personally led the 10th Legion in battle. Horus, moreover, greatly admired Dukine, granting him the emblem of the Eye of Horus. He also sent Azek Abaddon to temporarily serve as Dukine's attendant to learn from him. Ning Lu recalled what he knew about Dukine. Open black lens bracket, Storm and Warhammer, is a seemingly simple but extremely complex and precise tactical system, and also the source of the future, Iron Hands, tactics, which Manus further developed. He was appointed Legion commander, on par with 1st Company Captain Santo in status. They were also the highest-ranking commanders under Manus. The former Reaper disdained this tactic and did not learn from the 10th Legion. I can suggest to Manus that we conduct joint military operations. Close black lens bracket. As Ning Lu pondered, Dukine and Manus exchanged glances for 10 seconds, then knelt to pledge loyalty to his Gene father. Huang Laohan nodded with satisfaction and said, "Come with me, it's time for me to know about the series of glorious achievements you've made in the Flame Wheel." Digestion of the Briber potion. Ning Lu took the box containing the orc warlord's head from the original body servant and followed Huang Laohan out. Ning Lu followed Huang Laohan to the magnificent palace. After they were seated, the emperor, with a smile on his face, asked, "My son, in the Battle of Flame Wheel, you cleared the alien nest for the Imperium. The war report cannot fully record all your achievements. Now, it's time to tell me what was unsaid." Ning Lu placed the box on the marble table and said, "As you wish. The War of Flame Wheel began in the void. Russ and I arrived at the same time. Hannibal and his legion joined the war in 821. He quickly adapted to the role of legion commander." Ning Lu omitted content related to extraordinary abilities and magical items, objectively reporting the achievements of the 2nd and 6th Legions to Huang Laohan. "Finally, I cut off the head of the orc warlord, Soraya Nuo. He is my gift to you." As Ning Lu spoke, he picked up the box, pressed the runic symbols, revealing the ugly and ferocious head of the orc warlord, and presented it to Huang Laohan. Huang Laohan took it, glanced at it, then pressed the runic symbols, and the box closed. He looked at Ning Lu and said admiringly, "Flame Wheel was the largest campaign since the Imperium's establishment. You commanded well and personally slew the orc warlord. This is a remarkable and significant victory." After his praise, Huang Laohan continued, "I will hold a triumph ceremony for you on Terra, which will also be a welcome for the return of your brother, Fenris. Your descendants made great sacrifices. The Imperium will not forget them. The Imperium will bestow upon them appropriate honors. You shall select suitable individuals to bestow iron halos upon them. I will present the 11th Legion with 6 relic-class battleships to help Order Shadows traverse the Star Sea." Upon hearing this, Ning Lu thought to himself, "Open black lens bracket him, with the original 6, each battle group can have one. Close black lens bracket. The Emperor's solemn tone shifted, and he said with a smile. Before the Battle of Flame Wheel, Mikado, Horus, and I discussed who would cut off the head of the chief evil. Mikado believed Russ would win this hunt. Horus and I believed it would be you. You did not disappoint me. You cut off his head. I am pleased with your gift. Knowing Ning Lu's preferences well, he said. My private treasury will open for you again. You may choose one treasure from it. The briber suddenly felt stars exploding within him, his spirituality becoming more active, and his mind purer. Ning Lu knew that he had mastered the full power of the potion, becoming a true briber. His thoughts drifted, and he mused. Open black lens bracket him, according to the rules of disordered country, my authority should increase again, and a new layer of space will open. What characteristics and special functions will the fourth layer of space exhibit? Close black lens bracket. Ning Lu reined in his thoughts and said to Huang Laohan, My lord, thank you for your bestowal. The Emperor rose, follow me. Ning Lu followed Huang Laohan, arriving at the golden vault door for the third time. Runes glowed, and the vault door slowly opened. Ning Lu walked inside. He habitually ignored the Jushin spear placed at the entrance and walked further in. The smile on the Emperor's face remained unchanged. He glanced at the Jushin spear, then looked at Ning Lu's retreating figure, a glimmer in his eyes. Ning Lu activated his psychic vision, inspecting Huang Laohan's treasury, focusing on the newly added items, and occasionally asking questions. When he saw the 13th item, his pupils contracted. Before Ning Lu was a crystal eyeball the size of a human fist, with deep black pupils in a white sclera. The spiritual light emitted by the crystal eyeball was even more intense than that of the blood-colored chain. Based on the spirituality emanating from it, he made a preliminary judgment. Open black lens bracket a sequence 3-level magical item. Close black lens bracket. Seeing Ning Lu stop, the Emperor began to introduce it. This crystal eyeball is a trophy I obtained recently from Ibaraki, a world infested by aliens. The alien race, Searle, are similar in form to Medusa. Each of those snake-like creatures has a crystal eyeball embedded in their heads. This one is a trophy I dug out after slaying their queen. Ning Lu nodded slightly. He continued forward, and after looking at 12 more newly added items, he thought to himself. Open black lens bracket the crystal eyeball should be a magical item corresponding to the witch pathway, sequence 3 feet immortal witch, close black lens bracket. The Emperor asked with a smile, have you decided what to choose? I have, Ning Lu said, walking to the crystal eyeball. I want it. Huang Laohan had already expected it. He undid the runes, took out the crystal eyeball, and handed it to Ning Lu. After walking out of the vault door, the Emperor said to Ning Lu again. My son, I see that you and Manus have a good relationship, so you shall instruct him on adapting to the Imperium. Ning Lu was just thinking of coordinating operations with the 10th Legion to observe and learn the Storm and Warhammer tactics. He immediately said, as you wish. Subsequently, Manus and Ning Lu boarded the gunship together, flying towards the Wangquan Shadow. En route, Manus raised his left arm and said to Ning Lu. I have renamed the 10th Legion from Storm Walker to Iron Hands. After lowering his left arm, Manus continued. All Storm Walkers must find their clan on Medusa. After that, they must rely on their own abilities to replace the leadership of existing tribes. In this process, their spirits and bodies will become true Medusan. Gabriel and others are with Amadeus Decane. He wants to accompany the Iron Hands and must first truly understand Medusa. A part of him must become Medusan. Ning Lu nodded slightly, thank you for your arrangements. Ning Lu was not surprised by this. He knew that Manus valued Medusa exceptionally. Because Medusa's local population base was small and lacked war potential, Manus would select suitable populations from the human worlds he conquered, those who resisted most fiercely, for recruitment. Manus would hand them over to the Mechanicus's ascetic priests to execute, as an offering to Gorgon, to be brought to Medusa for trials. This was different from recruiting soldiers into legions in other worlds and then training them with the legions. All iron hands must undergo the forging of Medusa's cruel furnaces. After the celebration on Terra, our two legions will operate together. Manus's silver eyes flickered, and his leaden voice sounded. The iron hands will be ready. Upon returning to the Wenquan Shadow, Ning Lu introduced the Imperium to Manus through conversation. He found that, compared to Hannibal's understanding of hunting, Manus's understanding of everything was based on logic and numbers. Manus was calculating every moment. After the conversation, Ning Lu had Arsena lead Manus to the palace room arranged for him. Ning Lu then came to disordered country. He first placed the crystal orb in the third layer of space. Then, he narrowed his eyes slightly. Indeed, after digesting the briber potion, my authority has increased.